services be secure. And that is what we're dealing with in administratively, in terms of making efficiency of administrative functions. But there is also a second mission statement that is paramount, that is enhancing public participation and engagement. And we feel that even as ICTs, we should be able to provide tools and services that the general public would be able to utilize in order for them to be able to participate in the legislative processes of Parliament. And in that vein, the public should actually be ready to be on the lookout. I think there is a product that I know mostly we've been developing products for in-house in terms of for the members of Parliament and also for the staff. But there is actually an application that is coming out that the general public would actually be able to interact with our constituency offices, with our members of Parliament, and so they should be on the lookout to be able to see this particular application that will be launched and released to the public for them to be able to actually engage. And that's how within ICT we are able to deal with the issue of connecting into the vision for the institution.
What are your final remarks?
I would like to thank, I think, management for this program that they basically set up in terms of being able to have Parliament open its doors to be able to showcase to the public what exactly is happening within the various departments. I think that brings to light everyone else being able to see what Parliament is, and it means that it's now more inclusive in terms of what we would have. And maybe just as a closing remark, I would want to urge all the members of the public there to please continue watching Parliament TV so that you could actually learn a lot more about how Parliament functions and the various other ways in which you could be able to engage with these particular institutions.
Mr. Solopi, would like to thank you for making appearance on this program.
Thank you very much.
There you have it, viewers. You've been watching the department's program under the Office of the Clerk of the National Assembly of Zambia. And today our focus was the ICT Department, which is headed by the Principal Clerk, Mr. Solopi. Until next time, have been your presenter, Matimba Mkua. Keep watching Parliament Television. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us on Parliament Television as we await the live parliamentary proceedings today, Thursday, the 19th of October 2023. My name is Taza Piri, and on sign language interpretation, I'm joined by Jason Manda and Chola Kauma. We go straight into business that was considered on the floor of the House on Tuesday, 17th October 2023. So when business resumed on Tuesday, Madam Speaker did make an announcement in which she recognized the presence in the public gallery of pupils as well as teachers from Chateau Private School and Little Stars Pre and Primary Schools from Lusaka District. Madam Speaker, on behalf of the National Assembly of Zambia, warmly welcomed the guests to the National Assembly. Thereafter, the House proceeded into considering matters of urgent public importance, and the following matters of urgent public importance under Standing Order 134 were raised. The first one did come from Nakonde Member of Parliament, Mr. Lucas Simumba, and his subject matter was on the cancer patients being referred to Tanzania for treatment. This matter was inadmissible. The second matter did come from Lunte Member of Parliament, Mr. Mutotwe Kafwaya, who raised the matter on debt restructuring based on an article in the Daily Nation newspaper, and this matter was inadmissible. The third matter was raised by Chama North Member of Parliament, Mr. Yota Mutachalo, and his matter was on the escape of 10 remandees and convicts from holding cells and lack of transport at Chama Police Station in Chama District. This matter was inadmissible. And the fourth matter was raised by Chifubu Member of Parliament, Mr. Lloyd Luboja, and his subject matter was on the storm that damaged over 40 houses in Chifubu Parliamentary Constituency. This matter was inadmissible. And the fifth matter was raised by Chinsali Member of Parliament, Mr. Kalalwe Mukosa, and his subject matter was on the 2023 CDF fund that had been received in Chinsali Parliamentary Constituency. This matter was inadmissible. The sixth matter did come from Petauke Central Member of Parliament, Mr. Emmanuel Bande, and his subject matter was on the price of mealie meal that had been reduced. This matter was inadmissible. And the seventh matter was raised by Chiluvi Member of Parliament, Mr. Mlenga Fube, and his subject matter was on the alleged importation of GMO maize. This matter was equally inadmissible. And the eighth matter was raised by Wengwa Member of Parliament, Mr. Kasautu Michelo, and his subject matter was on the outbreak of anthrax disease affecting livestock in Kazungula, Sinazongwe, and Monze districts. This matter was inadmissible. And the last matter, which was the ninth matter, was raised by Lubansenshi Member of Parliament, Mr. Taulo Chewe. His subject matter was on the measures being taken to avoid maternal deaths in Lubansenshi Parliamentary Constituency. This matter was inadmissible. After the consideration of the matters of urgent public importance, the House went on to consider questions for oral answer numbers 106 to 110, Understanding Order 74. The House then went on to consider the motion of supply. There was resumption of debate on the motion of supply. This is a motion of 29 September 2023. This motion was moved by the Minister of Finance and National Planning, Honorable Dr. Stumbeko Msokotwane. That's after he presented the 2024 national budget, urging that the House do now resolve into Committee of Supply on the estimates of revenue and expenditure for the year 1st January 2024 to 31st December 2024, together with the annual borrowing plan presented to the National Assembly in September 2023. And there being no further debate, the debate on the motion stood adjourned, and we do expect debate to resume today, Thursday. The House did adjourn accordingly at 18:04 hours. So that's just the business that was considered on Tuesday, 17th October 2023. We now shift our attention to today's order paper. We do expect the House to consider 5 questions for oral answer, Understanding Order 74, and we do have 1 question for written answer, Understanding Order 75, and we also expect resumption of debate on the motion of supply. This is a motion of 29th September 2023. We now take a look at some of the questions that will be considered under Standing Order 74. The first question, question 111, is expected to come from Milenge Member of Parliament, Mr. Gustav Chonde, and is expected to ask the Minister of Technology and Science in A, whether the government has any plans to construct communication towers in Milenge district in 2023, in B, if so, how many towers are earmarked for construction, and in C, whether the areas to be covered will include the following: Lungamkuta, Kalali, and Mulungushi. And then question 112 is expected to come from Mr. Sande Chanda, who is Kanchivia Member of Parliament, and is expected to ask the Minister of Transport and Logistics in A, whether the government has any plans to procure boat engine to provide connectivity through water transport between Kanchivia District and Lunga, Samfia, and Chilubi districts. In B, if so, when the plans will be implemented, and in C, if there are no such plans, why? Question 113 is expected to come from Mr. Sipo Lazo, who is Chilanga Member of Parliament, and is expected to ask the Minister of Water Development and Sanitation in A, when the government will connect water to the following areas in Chilanga Parliamentary Constituency: Freedom, Musamba, Long Ridge, Game and Fisheries, and Namalombwe Ward. In B, what measures the government is taking to address the water challenges in Apollo L85. Question 114 is expected to come from Mr. Andrew Tayengwa, who is Kawata Member of Parliament, and is expected to ask the Minister of Health why National Mental Health Council had not been established as of April 2023, despite the enactment of Mental Health Act number 6 of 2019. And thereafter, question 115 is expected to come from Mr. Kalalwe Mkosa, who is Chinsali Member of Parliament, and is expected to ask the Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development in A, whether the government has any plans to tar the Mbesu-Makafwimbe Road in Chinsali district, and in C, if so, when the plans will be implemented. And there you have it in picture. There is the Honorable Madam First Deputy Speaker's procession making its way to the chamber. We now take you to the floor of the House.
Honorable Members of Parliament, Madam Speaker.
Tendency of Zambia, proud and free, land of wealth and joy in unity, victors in the struggle for our rights. We want freedom's fight, oh, one, strong and free. Africa is our
Almighty God, who in your infinite wisdom and providential goodness has appointed the offices of leaders and parliaments for the welfare of society and the just government of the people, we beseech you to consider with your abundant favor us, your servants, whom you have been pleased to call to the performance of such important responsibilities in this land. Let your blessings descend upon us here in Parliament assembled, and grant that we may, as in your presence, treat and consider all matters that shall come under our deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to promote your honor and glory, and to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of our country and of those whose interests you have committed to our charge. Amen. Order, honorable members. I've got 3 announcements to make. The first one, I wish to inform the House that in accordance with the provisions of Standing Order number 165.5 and 191.1, I have made the following change to the composition of the Committee on Parliamentary Reforms and Modernization Committee. Ms. Chushi C. Kasanda MP has been appointed to replace Honorable Princess Kasune MP. I thank you. Honorable members, I wish to acquaint the House with the presence in the Speaker's Gallery of the following honorable members of the Standing Committee on Home Affairs, Security, Constitutional and Legal Affairs, and staff from the National Council of Namibia. Honorable John Likando, MP. Committee Chairperson and leader of the delegation. Honorable Philemon Njambula, MP, Vice Chairperson. Honorable Elkan Ngimbu, MP, Member. Honorable Daniel Kuoko, MP, Member. Honorable Amundinjidi Andreas, MP, Member. Honorable Philippus Mavara, MP, Member. Honorable Anseline Biekes, MP, Member. Ms. Dorothy Fresman, Deputy Director. Mr. Matupi August, Senior Legal Officer. Mr. Bonifatus Amadila, Parliamentary Clerk. Ms. Pamela Mate, Senior Information Officer. And Ms. Alita Kapwaya, Administrative Staff. I wish on behalf of the National Assembly of Zambia to receive our distinguished guests and warmly welcome them in our midst. I thank you. Order. The last announcement. Honorable members, in accordance with Standing Order 157.6 of the National Assembly of Zambia, Standing Orders for 2021, I wish to inform the House that debate on the motion of supply, which was moved by the Honorable Minister of Finance and National Planning on 29 September 2023, will be concluded on Tuesday, 31st October 2023. The last 4 sitting days of the debate on the motion, priority is given to the front bench to respond to various issues that were raised by the people from the back bench during the debate. In this regard, therefore, starting from Wednesday 25th to Tuesday 31st October 2023, priority in debating the motion of supply will be given to the front bench. In this vein, I implore all members of the back bench intending to debate the motion to do so between now and tomorrow, Friday, 20th October 2023. I thank you. We make progress. I've seen 6 indications for matters of urgent public importance: Nakonde, Kankoyo, Kantanshi, Wengwa, Petauke Central, and Vubwi. The Honorable Member for Nakonde.
Madam Speaker, I'm very grateful for this opportunity. The matter that I wish to raise, Madam Speaker, is directed at the Minister of Health. Madam Speaker, what defines a hospital are the equipments that are found there. In Nakonde, Madam Speaker, Nakonde Hospital, the hospital is operating without an X-ray equipment. And they have used all the means, Madam Speaker, to reach the relevant authorities. Nothing has happened, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, our patients are being subjected to go to Tanzania to do the X-rays. Madam Speaker, I would want to ask the Minister of Health if there are any plans, urgent measures that the Minister is going to do so that we can have this very important equipment, Madam Speaker. I seek your serious guidance. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. It does not qualify. I can imagine the Honorable Minister coming to this House to give a ministerial statement about an X-ray machine which is not in Nakonde. Honorable Member, please find another platform that you can use so that that matter can be addressed by the Minister of Health. The Honorable Member for Kankoyo.
I thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I'm raising this matter of public importance on the Minister of Mines. Madam Speaker, your staff in my constituency are living in fear. The offices are closed right now. They haven't been working for 2 days because the youths in Kankoyo are threatening to burn them down. The youths in Kankoyo, Madam Speaker, want to burn them down because they're very disappointed. The Minister of Mines had decided to award the Black Mountain to Jibril Metals without engaging them or me, the Member of Parliament, so that I could be in the position to explain to them why the government had decided to give the Black Mountain to the South African and other than the youth in Kankoyo. Is the Minister of Mines in order to make such a decision without informing me or the people in Kankoyo and to bring this anarchy? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Order, Honorable Members, order. Let's not start debating while seated. The Honorable Member for Kankoyo, you can raise an urgent question so that that issue can be attended to, instead of waiting for next week to come through a ministerial statement. Please raise an urgent question. The Honorable Member for Kantanshi.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I'm rising on Standing Order 134 on a matter that is urgent and of public importance, and is directed to the Minister of Health.
You may proceed, Honorable Member.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, you know that as a country we have been faced with a lot of challenges around water. Here in Lusaka.
Order, Honorable Members. I think the voices are too loud on the people from the left. Can we please listen to his matter? The Honorable Member, you may continue.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I was saying that as a country, a lot of parts of our country have challenges of water. Not obviously leaving out my constituency, Kantanshi. But, Madam Speaker, yesterday, on a social media platform, which is very reliable, called Mwebantu, there was a screaming headline that Ministry of Health has announced that we have cholera cases in the country. Now, Madam Speaker, you do realize that we haven't had cholera in a bit of time now, but that is a disease that is known to kill a lot of people. And obviously, government's preparedness in as far as test equipment, facilities that will be made available if this disease really breaks out is very important for all of us seated here and for the people that are listening and watching Parliament. So I was seeking your indulgence, maybe to get more information as to whether indeed this disease has broken out and in which parts of our country, and what were some of the immediate actions that the government will take. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Indeed, I think we heard that there was a case in Lusaka, a confirmed case, but the minister can come and give a statement just to tell the people where the cases are and how much the government is prepared for these cholera cases. As you know, we are now approaching the rain season, and these cases do usually pop up. So the Honorable Minister of Health is required to come to this House next week on Thursday to give us a statement on cholera situation in the country. Wednesday is a holiday. Is it Tuesday is a holiday? We make progress. The Honorable Member for Bwengwa.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much for giving me opportunity to rise on a matter of public importance. Directed at the Vice President, one of the Vice President. Yes, the matter I wish to raise, Honorable Madam Speaker, it's concerning a milling mill in the country. With me here, I have a very tangible evidence coming from social media, Zambia Eagle, where Mr. Mali advises all millers to protest ZNF's cheap milling mill by stopping milling company to mill a milling mill for 1 month. And as if it wasn't enough, there was again another meeting where the former Republican president moved out of the meeting protesting about some members of PF who are misleading him that they cannot manage. They have failed to sabotage the government for the millers not to mill milling mill. Madam, when these people realize that this issue is not going to work, they have again hashed up a scheme, to label government, to accuse government that the only way we can accuse this cheaper milling mill is by accusing government that they are supplying them with GMO maize. And this issue, madam, if it is not handled properly, it is going to bring animals in this country. Animals. And please, let me request, Madam Speaker, I need your serious indulgence on this issue so that the Zambian people are protected. If they are not protected by these people who are trying to sabotage the government, the Zambian people will become extremely so hungry. Please, I need your indulgence, madam. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I don't know whether Her Honor the Vice President would like to respond now or come later to the House. Order, honorable members. Order, honorable members. You are not speakers. Can you leave that assignment to me? so that we make progress. Her Honor the Vice President.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I'd like to thank the Honorable Member for that question. It was quite loaded, Madam, and maybe I may even have missed some things that he has referred to. But the general understanding is that there is a complaint against cheaper meal meal. That's the way I'll put it. The complaint coming from millers, you said. The complaint also coming from Patriotic Front.
And that the mealie meal also has got that aspect of being GMO.
Oh,
I think that is also very important because the people might be worried that they are eating mealie meal which is GMO.
Thank you, Madam, for that help for me to remember. On the issue of GMO, Madam Speaker, we will actually call that tedious because I've had to respond to that standing right in this place, that no one is milling GMO maize. I said it standing here. The maize that is being milled by National Service is actually from FRA. So that should make people understand. If people who are claiming of capacity, let them test the mealie meal. Because the government is very clear that we are not giving GMO mealie meal to the Zambian people today. That is one thing. Thank you, Madam. The other thing is the complaint by the millers that they are going to stop milling for 1 month. They are being agitated by some people to stop milling. If I was a miller, I would not listen to that. Is it that they have run out of market? And that would be sabotage, actually. The government has not, Madam, the government has not stopped anybody from milling. The government has a responsibility to look after its citizens. We have had an outcry, including in this House, Madam Speaker, that people have been saying the mealie meal price is too high for many of our Zambian people. And they have been calling for government to intervene. And surely this is one of the interventions, that we have one milling group in the name of ZNS that is able to mill and provide to as many people as possible mealie meal that is affordable. So for anybody to stand up and say that is wrong, then are we being really sincere with our people? We thought everybody was concerned about the cost of mealie meal. And any means that is used to bring down the cost of mealie meal must be appreciated by all of us. So how does anybody stand up and again condemn something which is working well for the Zambian people? I think then there is no sincerity. Politics should not be played in that manner, Madam Speaker. Let us help our people, and if government can do anything to bring down the price, even by 1 kwacha, that ought to be done. And this is how government has tackled this. Is it that we have nothing else to say? Thank you, Madam.
Yeah. I'll take supplementary questions. The Honorable Member for Shiwangandu, is that a supplementary question? You can go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I can now assume that we have adopted the standard practice of tabling documents generated from social media. And the manner in which it has been laid, we can adopt that as a way of bringing matters on the floor. The follow-up question to our Honor the Vice President. Here on this floor of this August House, we have lamented, we have advised several times regarding this issue of maize. Here, not anywhere else. And we have been advising against the issue of exporting maize at the expense of our citizens. We were not listened to. Here we are today. Your Honor, the Vice President, Zambia National Service has been instructed to mill, and only distribute to ShopRite chain stores. The whole lot of Shuangandu, the whole lot of Muchinga province rather, starting from Nakonde, Chinsali, Mpika, Shuangandu, we don't have any ShopRite chain store. Northern province, I think we can count one. Luapra province, one. How is this measure, Madam Speaker, going to help our citizens who are also looking for cheaper meal? As we speak, the milling plant in Muchinga province for ZNS has got no maize. So how is this measure going to cushion the many starving Zambians who are at the verge of dying out of hunger? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Her Honor, the Vice President.
On me. Madam Speaker, I would like to thank the Honorable Member for Shuangandu for that very important question that he has brought out. And I would like to thank you very much for allowing me to respond. I think that we are totally mixing up things here. The preamble to the question is completely misleading, Madam Speaker, because the Honorable Member talks of exporting maize against the advice of this House. The issue we have here is not lack of maize. We are talking of the cost. And therefore, to give that kind of background of the debate over the export of maize is misleading the people, because the connotation would be that we have no maize. That's the implication of that statement. Madam, we have maize. Minister of Agriculture. We have maize in the country. The issue is how are we pricing the meal. And this is handling. And also, in the second part, the Honorable says the entire part of Muchinga and the northern province, there is no ShopRite. I can't argue with that. I know there are some ShopRites, but maybe not everywhere. But reality is we have National Service milling plant. Nobody has instructed the National Service to deliver any milling meal that is milled in the province, in Muchinga in particular, to take to other provinces. There has been no that instruction. The Minister of Defense is not here. There is no such instruction as far as I'm briefed. And there is no instruction that National Service should take only to ShopRite, unless I'm missing a point. There is no such instruction. So this simply means let meal go to all ShopRite, but they can also go to the places where they usually deliver. That's the understanding that I have. If I'm wrong, we will learn as we go. So there is no intention of having anybody starve. This government is for everybody. And this government will ensure that meal can reach as many people as possible, and there is no ban on one area not to receive the meal. So we will continue to work and ensure that our people get at least meal at a reasonable, relatively reasonable price, even in Shuangandu. Thank you.
There's an indication for a point of order. The Honorable Member for Pambashi, what is your point of order?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, Parliament is governed by our standing orders. This is in relation to the MP for Wengwa. Madam Speaker, standing order number 139, 1 and 2 is very instructive and very clear. Madam Speaker, for the good of the listening Zambians out there and members of the public, I'm quoting. The tabling of the private document by backbencher or a public document. Madam Speaker, and I quote 1 and 2. Number 40, a backbencher who wishes to table a private document shall seek the prior permission of the Speaker. In seeking permission under paragraph 1, the backbencher shall submit a copy of such document to the Speaker at least 24 hours in advance to enable the Speaker examine it. Madam Speaker, number 3, a member who has a prior permission to table a document under paragraph 2 shall table it immediately after or she has finished debating. Madam Speaker, also on page now, on our 139, the tabling of a public document, it has a background of which document and not document is referred to from the social media as one of the documents mentioned here. Madam Speaker, my brother, my good brother from Bwengo, he quoted some online publication with unquestionable source and authentication, and he moved to lay a document on the floor of this Parliament with total disregard to the provision of the standing order. I seek your serious ruling on the breach of our parliamentary procedure. I thank you.
Thank you, honorable members. I think, honorable members, the documents that were laid on the table by the honorable member for Wengwa, he did it on his own accord. I did not even tell him to come and lay down the documents on the table. I didn't ask him to come and lay down the documents on the table. He just did it on his own accord. Pardon? Yes, the honorable member for... Let's avoid debating while seated. So I think the manner we've brought out this complaint is not correct. Because we are following the procedures, like you correctly said. But I didn't ask the honorable member to lay down any document at all, especially during matters of urgent public importance. We know the procedure. So if the honorable member just laid the documents on his accord, then definitely was out of order because I didn't invite him to bring the documents on the table. Honorable members, we make progress. The honorable member for, I'll take two more, the honorable member for Bangweulu and the Speaker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
No, please, we want to make progress. Can we just give him a chance to ask? Otherwise, it will be a session for points of order. We want to make progress. Raise it at an appropriate time because I don't know what breach has been committed after I ruled. The honorable member for Bangweulu, please raise your question.
Thank you.
We'll come back
Madam
to you
Vice
at the right
President,
time.
there is growing concern over the GMO issue. Now, is it possible that through the office of the Madam Speaker, they can constitute a parliamentary select committee to go and verify whether the maize that is milled is GMO or not? As I'm with Madam Speaker.
Her Honor, the Vice President.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I thank the honorable member for that very important question. However, the decision of setting up a parliamentary committee cannot be directed to the Vice President. When you are asking the Speaker, is that an indirect way of telling the Speaker to set up? He has directed the question to a very wrong person. And indeed, I did allude to the fact that those that are concerned, can they just at random test the maize and see the GMO? We have made our position very, very clear, and we have no intention of deceiving the Zambians. We can clearly come and talk about GMO, but we are not giving GMO maize. I have been assured, and I talk from assurance. Thank you, Madam.
Thank you. The honorable member for Mpika.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity to ask the Vice President a question. Madam Speaker, ZNS currently has 3 industrial milling plants done by the Patriotic Front under the Presidential Milling Initiative. Most recently, the Defense Minister announced the
Point of order, Madam.
announced
Order, honorable members. Order, can we give him chance to raise his question?
Madam Speaker, the Defense Minister announced the program of exporting mealie meal to DRC, and that actually the DRC government had advanced $15 million in that regard. On the other hand, we are being told to say the product being produced by ZNS milling plants is the panacea to the challenge that our country is facing of high-priced mealie meal. My question to our Honor the Vice President is, does ZNS have the capacity to undertake these 2 very important assignments, exporting maize to DRC and also ensuring that they attend to the needs of our people? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honor the Vice President.
Madam Speaker, tomorrow there should be no 45 minutes because we have taken it today. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Definitely, I am not aware of the statement by the Honorable Minister of Defense that ZNS is going to export maize. That is true. I haven't heard of maize being exported. I'm sitting here. If you are talking of mealie meal, that's a different matter, but I choose to answer the question. The Honorable talked of maize, and I'm not aware. The other issue is okay. The capacity, and he talked of, I remember the panacea, that this is what we are saying. At least standing here, I've not used that word, that this is the panacea. We are saying it's one of the things that we ought to do in order to mitigate the cost of mealie meal. And anybody who is a miller can join us in providing reasonably priced mealie meal. We have not barred any other person from doing that. And therefore, to even talk of capacity is not the issue, the capacity of the National Service. The National Service will continue to help to mitigate with any other Zambian participating. That's the way I would want to respond to that. Thank you, Madam.
Thank you. We make progress. The last matter of urgent public importance, the Honorable Member for Vubwi.
Thank you so very much, Madam
Oh, he
Speaker,
has
for
already gone.
this chance to allow me to raise a matter of urgent public importance. And this one is directed to Her Honor, the Vice President. Madam Speaker, 2 days ago, we received some heavy rains in Vogo, which therefore destroyed a lot of structures, including the 2 schools. This is Chankhandwe Day Secondary School and Chankhandwe Primary School. The unfortunate part, Madam Speaker, is that the pupils are failing to learn in these 2 schools. And we were worried because the component meant for disaster is not enough to cater for maybe the rehabilitation of these 2 schools, especially. And the other worry is that very soon we will have our grade 7 sitting for final examinations. So, through you, Madam Speaker, I would like to ask Her Honor, the Vice President, to intervene in the matter before it's too late, because we expect a lot of poor results and so forth and so on. Because the 2 schools, including the community, I think the situation is terrible, very bad. So we ask for your quick intervention. I honor the Vice President. Thank you so very much, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, the Honorable Member for Vubwi. Indeed, that is a problem in the constituency, but looking at the time of the year, it was actually last week when we heard from another constituency what transpired. It is very important that you use the structures under GMMU instead of waiting for Her Honor, the Vice President, to come and give a ministerial statement. You have to be proactive to help your people in the constituency. This does not mean you cannot visit the office of the Vice President. You are free to go there to our office. Otherwise, please, this time around, we are going to have a lot of these disasters. So let's try to be very proactive so that we help our people from our various constituencies. Thank you. I have permitted the Honorable Minister of Energy to make a ministerial statement. The Honorable Minister of Energy.
Madam Speaker, I wish to thank you for the opportunity accorded to me to issue a ministerial statement on the transportation of petroleum products in Zambia. This is arising from a matter of public importance raised by Honorable Mutayachalo, Member of Parliament for Chama North. Madam Speaker, as you may be aware, the Ministry of Energy has the mandate of ensuring adequate, reliable, and affordable supply of petroleum products and natural gas in order to maintain the security of supply in the country. In delivering this constitutional mandate, the role that transportation of petroleum products plays in ensuring fuel security cannot be overemphasized. Currently, Zambia essentially uses the pipeline for importation of 80% of low sulfur gas and the remaining 20% by road. Additionally, distribution of all petroleum products in the country is solely by road. Madam Speaker, in response to Honorable Mutayachalo, matter of public importance on transportation of petroleum products, I wish to inform this august House that in May 2021, the Zambian government issued a statutory instrument number 35 of 2021. This SI stipulates that a person intending to transport a commodity, in this case petroleum products, by road shall give preference to a local road transporter in accordance with stipulated regulations. Further, it states that if a person intends to export or import heavy bulk commodity to and from another country, they shall ensure that at least 50% of the commodity is transported by a local road transporter. Madam Speaker, the Ministry of Energy has taken note of the complaints from the Zambia Union of Tankers Drivers and Allied Workers, and in general from the petroleum transporters, regarding the non-compliance to statutory instrument number 35 of 2021 by oil marketing companies. Madam Speaker, the law is clear that all concerned stakeholders are expected to abide by the law. Further, the Ministry of Energy has taken very seriously the issue raised by stakeholders in the transportation of petroleum products in the country. In the past, my ministry had worked with the Ministry of Commerce, Trade and Industry and the Ministry of Transport and Logistics in formulation and implementation of various petroleum subsector reforms pertaining to bulk transportation. Going forward, my ministry will continue to work closely with the Ministry of Small and Medium Enterprises through CEEC, who are the custodians of the statutory instrument, in order to expedite the development of a mechanism of how government agencies can collaborate in the enforcement of the SI 35. Madam Speaker, allow me to read this so that the Honorable Mutaya Chalo can follow and understand that the custodians of this SI is not the Ministry of Energy, but the Ministry of Small Scale. It reads, going forward, my ministry will continue to work closely with the Ministry of Small and Medium Enterprise through CEEC, who are the custodians, I repeat, custodians of the statutory instrument, in order to expedite the development of a mechanism on how government agencies can collaborate in the performance of SI 35. Madam Speaker, the Ministry of Energy has recently drafted the Petroleum Development and Management Bill, which is scheduled to be presented to Parliament for consideration. The bill, once approved, is aimed at strengthening registration in the petroleum subsector. This draft bill highlights that a foreign registered tanker shall not offload imported petroleum products at a retail site or end user. Further, it states that a supply of petroleum products shall give priority to citizen-owned company or citizen-empowered company licensed by the Energy Regulation Board to transport petroleum products within Zambia. Madam Speaker, it is my considered view that adequate compliance to SI number 35 of 2021 will be attained through engagement of all players, and once the bill is passed, compliance levels are expected to further be reinforced. The above interventions are all part of the broader sector reforms that my ministry is implementing so as to ensure that petroleum products are made available to the Zambian people. I thank you.
Honorable members are now free to ask questions on points of clarifications on the ministerial statement given by the Honorable Minister of Energy. The Honorable Member for Pambashe.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, when citizens cry, government must respond and respond effectively to mitigate. The statement by the minister doesn't sound to provide the solution, other than that we are crafting the law. My question is, Minister, what are you doing as government to enforce the punitive provisions that are in the SI, so that those who are floating the SI are meant to account for the flouting of the law? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Energy.
Madam Speaker, I thought I had categorically stated that the custodians of this SI is the CEEC through the Ministry of Small and Medium Enterprises. And as such, they are better placed to ensure that this statutory instrument is adhered to. I submit.
The Honorable Member for Kwacha.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for allowing the people of Kwacha constituents to pose a question, a follow-up questions to the Minister of Energy. Honorable Minister, is there any plans by my government to change the pricing mechanism where we are seeing, as at now, it's done on a monthly basis? Now, is there any plans by my government to allow for this mechanism to be done on a quarterly basis so that we can allow a systematic planning by many stakeholders? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Before the Minister comes in, there's an indication for a point of order. What is your point of order, the Honorable Member for Pambashe?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The ministers have a duty to answer questions as they are put to them on behalf of the Zambian people, Madam Speaker. And I think even His Excellency the President is interested in knowing what his ministers are doing. Madam Speaker, the question I asked was not to pass it back which ministry is dealing with that. What is government doing to arrest the situation of those that are flouting the SI so that Zambians who are being deprived of doing business are safeguarded? I didn't ask you who is responsible for the SI. The question is, what is government doing to protect the Zambians who are being defrauded from doing business in their country by the foreigners, according to the SI number 35 of 2021? I thank you, Madam Speaker. And I need your serious ruling whether the minister is in order to avoid answering a straightforward question as put to him by me on behalf of millions of Zambians there who are struggling to do business in Zambia. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Member for Pambashi. Sometimes, as Honorable Members, we expect the Minister to answer to our satisfaction, but it's not usually the case. However, Honorable Member, the Minister is still on the floor, and we've given a chance to all Honorable Members, those that are interested, to seek points of clarification. So you can actually use another member just to remind the Minister if you are not satisfied with the response that he gave you, so that your issue can be tackled to your satisfaction. But like I said, the Minister will answer with the answers that he has, whether they are interesting on our side or they are negative on our side. The Minister has answered. So I'll request the Honorable Member, please look at your colleagues who've indicated to. Thank you. The Honorable Minister, there was a question.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Honorable Mlenga, for that question. Madam Speaker, this was a directive issued by the President, I think a week or so ago. And my ministry, together with the Energy Regulation Board, are reviewing this issue, and they will do consultations with all stakeholders before we can come and give an update to this House. I submit.
The Honorable Member for Shiwangandu.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, statutory instruments are formulated by ministries in line with their mandates and portfolio functions. The mandate of regulating the movement of fuel products lies with the Minister of Energy. And there is no justification at all for the minister to try and abdicate his responsibilities and leave it to the small scale. What has small scale got to do with movement of fuel? It goes with regulation, Madam Speaker. Those are substances. Honorable Minister, and that's why Honorable Chitotira was concerned, because us here, We are not going to take to task the Honorable Minister for small and medium scale enterprises, whose mandate, it's not his mandate. How did you end up with this statutory instrument, which deals with your mandate in another ministry? And maybe our Honorable Vice President should be able to help here. Because we can't, we have been in, we understand these things, fortunately. My question is, why would you allow a statutory instrument meant for your mandate sit in another ministry? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Energy.
Madam Speaker, this is an issue of empowerment and has nothing to do with movement. Movement of petroleum products, yes, lies within my ministry, and we deal with the importers who are the OMCs. This issue is about drivers complaining about the lack of business that they are getting from OMCs. So we are in the process of helping out to resolve this issue. This mandate completely, in terms of empowerment, that is why I talked about CEC and the Ministry of SMEs, I submit.
The Honorable Member for Nyimba.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, before I pose my question, this is a SI which is very important for us as a country, and if respected, it will change the fortune of every transporter in this country. Minister, the fuel importation now is not coming with trucks. I think you have just said that 80% of low sulfur fuel is coming with the pipeline. Now, in your last ministerial, or in the various ministerial statements you have given, you have said that when we start importing or transporting fuel through the pipeline, the prices will be reduced. How come now, Minister, that we are competing the prices with the product which is coming with the trucks, which is petrol? Thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Energy.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you for that interesting question. Madam Speaker, if the Honorable Member of Nyimba cares to follow the history on the pricing of petroleum products in this country, you will note that before April this year, diesel was more expensive than petrol. Currently, diesel is cheaper than petrol because of the advantage of using the pipeline, I submit.
The Honorable Member for Feira. Not in the House. The Honorable Member for Chama North.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Minister, for that ministerial statement. Honorable Minister, I am alive to the fact that the SI 35 of 2021 was enacted to empower indigenous transporters so that they play a key role in the transportation of petroleum products, which is not the case, Honorable Minister, because at the moment we have registered transporters, truckers in Zambia, but the owners are in Zimbabwe, South Africa, and Tanzania. Our people are being disadvantaged. So what measures are you taking, Honorable Minister, to ensure that indigenous Zambians should take a leading role in transporting petroleum products? Thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Energy.
Madam Speaker, that's why this SI is in existence. So if any OMC is breaking the law will visit them, I submit.
The Honorable Member for Mwense.
Madam Speaker, thank you for the opportunity. Minister, although I reluctantly ask this question, having served in that ministry, Minister, maybe just to help you, you have just to put your foot down. Some of us who have been in that ministry, we put our foot down, and that's why I left that 50% in terms of the local transporters. There was no legislation, but you're even like you have got the SI. Now, Madam Speaker, Minister, what leadership are you going to provide, given that that petroleum management bill that you're speaking about is a petroleum management bill that was done by ourselves in 2017. And up to now, it hasn't been completed. And there's institutional memory in your ministry. So what leadership minister are you going to provide to ensure that that bill is brought to this parliament as quickly as possible, because the issues of the private sector participating in the importation as well as the distribution of petroleum products in this country anchors on the petroleum management bill, which has stood for a long period of time. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Energy.
Madam Speaker, I've already stated in my ministerial statement that we are working on this bill. As soon as relevant consultation and adequate consultation is completed, we'll come back to this House as submit.
The Honorable Member for Mandevu.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I must say that the ministerial statement lost me because it's vague. I was concentrating. The Honorable Member for Chama North asked that question so that government can take in measures to protect Zambians who are who are operating in the transportation industry. What the minister has come here to do is not to give confidence at all to these Zambians who are complaining. My question is, why didn't you engage your colleague from the other ministry so that you come here and give us measures so that our people have confidence in the answers that, in the statement that you're giving? Because you just ran away from the problem. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Energy.
Madam Speaker, I had already indicated that we are doing consultation between my ministry and the Ministry of SMEs, as well as the CEEC, because this is a question of empowerment, and that does not lie with the Ministry of Energy. So we should concentrate on bringing up these issues to the ministry concerned so that they can give adequate information, which I might not give at the moment. I submit.
The Honorable Member for Mukushi South.
Honorable Minister, why are you still doing consultation when the SI is still there? And you are supposed to work with the SI. Why are you still doing consultation? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Energy.
Madam Speaker, it looks like this question keeps on being this way, that way, front, back, and forward. I have stated, and I repeat, that this issue is about empowerment, which sits with the relevant ministry. I submit.
Thank you. Honorable members, please let's be focused to the ministerial statement. The Honorable Member for Kaumbwe.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Since the inception of the SI in May 2021, how much income has been lost to our local transporters by allowing these foreigners to abrogate the SI rules? Thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Energy.
Madam Speaker, that is a very complex question, and it might take a long time to quantify how much these companies have lost. I submit.
The Honorable Member for Chama North.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Minister, you state that those oil marketing companies which are not following this, the SI, the law visits them. Honorable Minister, I'm in possession of a letter which you wrote, dated 5th May 2023, to all oil marketing companies. But they have ignored that. So why has the law not visited them? Because now we are in October. The letter you wrote to these companies was in May. But up to this time, no one has been brought to book. Meanwhile, our local contractors, transporters, they have run out of business. They can't even pay salaries. That's the situation. So why have those people not been brought to book?
The Honorable Minister of Energy.
Madam Speaker, I don't want to sound boring. The answer lies with the Ministry of Small and Medium Enterprise. I submit.
I'll get the last two. The Honorable Member for Wacha and the Honorable Member for Bangweulu.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity. Minister, we want you to be very clear. There is a law in place. Why are you not reinforcing the law? Unlike wasting time on the consultations that you are talking about. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Energy.
Madam Speaker, I don't think any ministry is wasting time. I've stated, and I repeat, the Ministry of SMEs will deal with those companies that are not following the SI 35. Thank you.
The Honorable Member for Bangweulu.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. For me, it was more of a point of order on the minister. When the question was asked, the question was referred to the minister to come and give a statement. The minister, knowingly that the issue that we are dealing with is not under his ministry, then he deliberately and freely decided to come to this parliament, make a statement, knowing that that issue does not fall under his ministry. Is the minister in order to come to this parliament and waste our time? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Member, the way you brought out that point of order is a bit provoking. Try to bring it in a manner that won't injure people's feelings. However, Honorable Member, I was also trying to assess this question. The Honorable Member who raised this matter of urgent public importance is the one that had directed the matter to the Minister of Energy. So in future, honorable members, let's also be very careful when we are raising these matters of urgent public importance so that we direct them to the right ministry. Because now it's like this question was supposed to go to the Ministry of Small Scale Enterprise. But here we are, it was directed to the Ministry of Energy. So please, next time, honorable members, let's direct these matters to the right ministries. And also maybe on the side of the ministers, maybe when the question is not for your ministry, I think you can forward it to the right ministry so that it gets the maximum attention that it deserves. So we make progress. I have also permitted the Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation to make a ministerial statement. The Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation.
Madam Speaker, it is an honor for me to address the House and the nation at large on the matter that was raised by Mr. Ronald Totela, Member of Parliament for Pambashe, regarding the conflict in the Gaza Strip. Madam Speaker, as the House may be aware, on the 7th of October 2023, Hamas was reported to have launched a surprise attack on Israel, which resulted in what we have now, a conflict between Israel itself and Hamas. Madam Speaker, this led to an estimated death rate of over 1,400 people in Israel and another 3,000 people in the Gaza Strip. I would like to reaffirm, Madam Speaker, that government will not relent in emphasizing the need for peaceful methods of conflict resolution across the globe. It is imperative to understand, Madam Speaker, that without peace, the global community cannot effectively pursue programs that lead to economic and social development for all people. Therefore, Madam Speaker,
the loss of lives in both Israel and Gaza is a matter of deep regret for this government, and we extend our heartfelt condolences and sympathies to all individuals, families that have been affected. Madam Speaker, the international community, in response of these unsettling developments, have issued resolute reactions. For instance, the chair of the Southern African Development Community, SADC, to which we're a member, issued a strong condemnation of the violence. SADC urged all parties to further escalate SADC urged all parties not to escalate the conflict further, as it will severely undermine the extensive global efforts towards peace and security in the Middle East. In tandem with the international community, the African Union has also called for an immediate cessation of hostilities and a return to the negotiating table. It has also called for the rekindling of the spirit of the two-state solution, where two nations can live side by side in peace, a principle that Zambia fully subscribes and supports. The United Nations, Madam Speaker, has also since urged the parties to this conflict to exercise restraint. And on the 9th of October 2023, a meeting was convened by the UN, which unfortunately was unable to achieve some form of agreement that was required to end this conflict. To this effect, the Zambian government has mentioned that it stands shoulder to shoulder with the rest of the international community in the denouncement of this conflict that has led to aggression and violence in these two nations. It is hoped that in the spirit of finding peaceful avenues to resolve this conflict, that the world will rally together, stand resolute against chaos, and seek a brighter and more harmonious path going forward. Madam Speaker, immediately after the 7th of October attack on Israel, the government of Zambia proactively began the process of identifying actual locations of our nationals who are known to be living in Israel. Suffice to mention, Madam Speaker, that Zambians living in Israel account for 172 of them, of which 143, Madam Speaker, are students, while the rest are diplomats and other residents. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation has maintained constant communication with the Zambian embassy in Tel Aviv, ensuring the safety of our community in Israel as well as our diplomats. Madam Speaker, I would like to highlight that government has facilitated the voluntary and temporary allocation of all Zambians who have expressed desire to come back to the homeland. So far, 77 Zambians have already arrived safely in Lusaka as of the 18th of October 2023. Madam Speaker, these include 72 students and 5 others. For those who have chosen to remain in Israel, rest assured that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation will maintain its cooperation in ensuring their safety. Madam Speaker, we would like to take this opportunity also to make a clarion call to parents and guardians who have children who are students and also other Zambians who are in Israel to come forth for an urgent meeting for us to consult with them at Foreign Affairs. Madam Speaker, with this statement, I beg to move.
Thank you. Honorable members are now free to ask questions on points of clarifications on the ministerial statement given by the Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation. The Honorable Member for Ron.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. And Honorable Minister, thank you very much for that statement. And indeed, we would love to congratulate you for being proactive and taking those measures to ensure that our brothers and sisters in Israel are safe. 77 Honorable Ministers have voluntarily decided to come back home. Being being a government that knows what is on the ground and the seriousness of this conflict, why hasn't the government, through your ministry, put down the foot and repatriate all the Zambians back home, rather than giving them an olive branch or a blank check for each and every one of them to decide? Why hasn't the Zambian government, through your ministry, decided to evacuate everyone from Israel? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation.
Madam Speaker, we were faced with a similar situation when, for example, when we had to repatriate Zambians out of Ukraine. I think, if you recall, colleagues, we did mention even at that time that there were some Zambians, even in this example, that chose to remain in Ukraine. Some of them because perhaps they had assimilated by marriage, they had family there, and so on and so forth. But to answer the question directly, Madam Speaker, we have actually faced some level of resistance from a certain number of our nationals who are based in Israel, who have indicated to the government that they do not wish to make travel at this juncture. That's why we mentioned towards the end of the statement, Madam Speaker, that we will continue to engage them. Our desire is that we bring the safety of our people is of paramount importance to this government. It's the number one priority that we assure all our nationals across the globe, particularly those in hotspots where there is instability, that government comes in to repatriate them. Even those that have been repatriated so far, Madam Speaker, I want to mention that it has been at government cost. And we are still engaging those who have remained to say they must come back. Government will facilitate their coming into Zambia and also their eventual repatriation back to where they are based in Israel. So we are doing everything we can. And maybe I should take this opportunity, Madam Speaker, to request fellow honorable members of parliament to say that if you have any of your constituents who are in Israel, help your government to engage them and also speak to them, encouraging them to come home where it is safer at this moment. Eventually, once peace is completely restored in that part of the world, government will come in again and send them back and facilitate their return to Israel. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Chifugu.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We want to thank the government of the Republic of Zambia for the effort on the international platform to condemn this war and wish the region peace. My question to the Honorable Minister is, Honorable Minister, from the time this war broke out, we have heard lives have been lost. What are the statistics of the fatalities and death among our nationals living in this country, in that country? Thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation.
Madam Speaker, that's a very important question, as it provides an opportunity for us to mention that no Zambian has died in the war, and we hope it stays that way, and no Zambian has been injured so far. Madam Speaker, thank you.
The Honorable Member for Shiwangandu.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, and we appreciate the statement coming from the Honorable Minister responsible for Foreign Affairs. Indeed, like you have stated, the conflict in the Gaza is a complex one. And you have also acknowledged that the efforts to try and resolve the tensions by United Nations have proved futile. So meaning there's a likelihood that the tensions might escalate. Honorable Minister, if you, like my colleague was asking from Ronnie, you give a directive to do an evacuation, how much are you collaborating with the Israel authorities in order for those that are being resistant, compelled, like many countries are doing, in order to ensure that our citizens return safely until such a time when calm and peace returns to the region? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation.
Madam Speaker, that's also a very important intervention. I would like the House to know that I'm in direct contact on phone with my counterparts. Just yesterday, Madam Speaker, again I was on phone with the Israeli ambassador, the non-resident Israeli ambassador attached to our country, discussing all these matters. And further, Madam Speaker, we do have a senior liaison officer from the counterpart ministry in Israel that is in direct contact, number one, with the leader of delegation, the chargé, our chargé in Israel, as well as our DA, our defense attaché. We are constantly in contact with the host country there, and especially even at our level. The House may wish to know also, Madam Speaker, that President Hichilem has been in touch with President Herzog. So even at that level, we are collaborating, Madam Speaker. So the House may be assured. Thank you very much.
The Honorable Member for Chama South.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, I want to seek clarification on the citizens that would want to travel to Israel. You are aware, Honorable Minister, the other week I have some youths who were requesting to travel to Israel in spite what was happening, and I even came with one of them at your ministry. I would like you to maybe give advice. Is it a prudent time for our citizens to travel to Israel or not? I submit it, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation.
Madam Speaker, we have very strong bilateral relations with Israel, and therefore there are a lot of exchanges, culture exchanges, business-to-business exchanges, and also people-to-people. But under the circumstances, Madam Speaker, we would want to urge our nationals not to travel to Israel under the circumstances. But as soon as the war situation stabilizes, I think normalcy will restore on its own naturally, and then our citizens can go to Israel and come back at their own volition. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
The Honorable Member for Chitambo.
Madam Speaker, I'm grateful. Minister, you mentioned that we've got a mission in Tel Aviv, and that from the way you are responding and the way you've explained, it appears that the mission is still active. Do you have any plans of closing the mission and recall back our officers who are working from there? If not so, what guarantee are you giving the nation that these people are safe? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation.
Madam Speaker, under the current security situation, we have no plans to close our embassy in Israel. Suffice to mention, Madam Speaker, that we are observing the security situation there with very keen interest. We are seized as government with this matter because we have our nationals there. And as and when it is appropriate to do so, if the situation escalates to levels that put and endanger our diplomats, then our diplomats may be required to come home. But as it stands now, we do not have any immediate plans to do that. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
The Honorable Member for Mbabala.
Sorry, Madam Speaker, I've withdrawn my question. Thank you.
The Honorable Member for Kawambwa.
I'm grateful, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I'd like to find out from the Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs if the conflict between Hamas and Israel could be the contributing factor that our President is missing at the ongoing conference of Belt and Road Conference 2023, where over 130 heads of state have converged to discuss various developmental programs, even those leaders from countries where President Xi Jinping has been recently, and those leaders who have been to Beijing or China in the recent past. Could that be the problem why our President is not amongst the heads of states who have converged for this Belt and Road Conference initiative. I thank you.
Though it's a bit outside the ministerial statement, the Honorable Minister, do you have any response for that? You may go ahead.
Madam Speaker, the two matters are not related in any way. So such wild assumptions, Madam Speaker, must be avoided. The President will travel strategically as and when it's possible. Even at the meeting that he's referring to, Zambia is being represented. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
The Honorable Member for Pambashe.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I raise this matter because of the interest of the parents whose children are in Israel. The Minister, thank you for the 70 pupils that students that have come. Do we have a deliberate program as government to monitor our children, those that are studying in that ozone region, to making sure that in case of anything, we'll be there quickly to evacuate them and we take them to safety? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation.
Madam Speaker, thank you once more, and thank you to the Member of Parliament for Pambash. From the outset, Honorable Member, I would like to request for contact details of that parent, because we have invited parents to come to the ministry as soon as possible, in fact, urgently, so that we can hold consultations with them. We strategize together on how to get our children out of Israel, those that are willing. Further to that, Madam Speaker, we have put in different levels of interventions, and one of them has already been demonstrated by the over 76 that are already in the country. And we are encouraging those that are willing to quickly contact our embassy in Tel Aviv so that government can purchase tickets for them to come back home, and government will also purchase tickets for them to return to Israel when it becomes even more safe. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Pemba.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I would like to find out, Minister, whether those that have been evacuated do include the families of our diplomats. Thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation.
Madam Speaker, families of our diplomats have already been repatriated home temporarily. The nationals that are remaining are mainly students. And again, I'll take this chance, Madam Speaker, to request parents to encourage our children to return home, because we are indeed facing some levels of resistance from students that they prefer to remain in that country. And like I mentioned before, we did have a similar situation when we were dealing with the evacuation out of Ukraine. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
The Honorable Member for Feira.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Minister, for the insightful policy statement. Madam Speaker, I want to just say that owing to the fact that we have learned from what is happening in the Gaza and this whole conflict, are there any lessons we would learn as a country and as a region, SADC, and in terms of national building? I thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation.
Madam Speaker, like the President always says, instability anywhere is instability everywhere. And lessons can be learned from that statement. Indeed, Madam Speaker, that peace, stability, and security is the prerequisite that is required for social and economic development. So the lessons we learned there is that we must keep our region safe, and all of us as leaders, including those on your left, Madam Speaker, must all preach peace and stability in our country and in the region. Then we can focus really on issues to do with helping those who are weak in society, the sick, the elderly, and so on and so forth. In a war situation, Madam Speaker, dynamics change, significantly so. Why? Because budgets move from social and economic support to security, to the purchase of firearms, purchase of equipment that is related to peace and stability. So the opposite is better, because then governments can support more people in individual countries. So lessons indeed are being learned. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. Honorable members, I have an announcement to make. I wish to recognize the presence in the public gallery of students from the University of Zambia Civic Education Association here in Lusaka District. On behalf of the National Assembly of Zambia, I warmly welcome our visitors in our midst. I thank you. Okay. You can take your seat. You may take your seat. We make progress. Questions for oral answer, understanding order number 74. The Honorable Member for Milengi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Question number 111.
The Honorable Minister of Technology and Science.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Member for Milenge, Honorable Chonde, is asking the Minister of Technology and Science, A, whether the government has any plans to construct communication towers in the Milenge district in 2023. B, if so, how many towers are earmarked for construction? And C, whether the areas to be covered will include the following. Number 1, Lungo Mukuta. Number 2, Kalali. And number 3, Mulungushi. We answer as follows, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I wish to inform the House that in 2022, members of Parliament were asked to submit areas that lack telecommunications connectivity. There were 7 sites captured in the gap analysis for Milenge constituency. A, government has concluded the plans for coverage in Milenge, and these have been included in the phased approach being used to execute the plan to construct towers countrywide. For this time, Milenge is not scheduled to be covered in the year 2023, but has been covered in later phases of project implementation plan. However, the 3 areas mentioned, Lungamukuta, Kalali, and Mulungushi, will be surveyed before the end of year 2023 in readiness for possible tower construction in the year 2024, depending on the availability of funds. Number B, the number of communication towers to be earmarked for construction will be known after the survey has been undertaken. As earlier stated, Madam Speaker, the areas to be surveyed will include Lungamkuta, Kalali, and Mulungushi. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Supplementary questions? The Honorable Member for Milengi.
Minister, thank you for your answers. Just a little background of the area we are referring to. Minister, Lungomkuta is one of those areas that lack social amenities. They have no roads. Even if government want to go there, they will have to wait for a particular season to be visited. Do you have preferences for such areas? Because at least if they are the communication, do you have timelines that how long will it take government from the times of surveying to the times of implementation? We are desperate for communication, at least for communication. I submit, Madam Speaker.
The Acting Minister of Technology and Science.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I thank the Honourable Member for Milenge, especially for his concern about places in his constituency. I think my answer is very, very specific. These will be surveyed, those areas will be surveyed, including Longomikuta. This year, before the end of this year, 2023, they will be surveyed so that these can possibly be included in the following year, 2024. Again, this will be depending on funds. But I asked him to engage with the ministry he highlights the fact that this is a difficult place to reach physically. Therefore, e-communications would make life easier for the people there. So let him continue to engage with the ministry. But from the ministry's point of view, we shall survey this for possible inclusion in the year 2024 plan. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Feira.
Yes, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the response that the minister has given just now, well, the question was, could the minister be categorical as to when this will be done? Because it's true that members of parliament were actually asked to submit information to the ministry, and this was done. And it was done last year for purposes of this work starting this year. I'm aware that gap analysis have been done, and now we do not know, there's now surveys being mentioned. The question really is that, and in understanding that the ministers are part of cabinet, I know that it's acting. When is there aware of any time frame, or perhaps we can as well forget this issue of engaging the ministry, but we need a commitment right now. Follow-ups, yes, we'll do them, but is the minister able to give that commitment that very soon, or this year, or whichever year, this will be done? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable the Acting Minister of Technology and Science.
Thank you very much. Madam Speaker, the gap analysis in the constituency has identified 7 areas where something needs to be done. The survey we are talking about is having identified the gap analysis. There is need to pinpoint where towers will be sited, and this is where this survey is done. This government works on the basis of the fact that once a project is started, we want those projects to be completed. So this survey will identify where the towers can be positioned, what type of towers. I think the substantive minister of Science and Technology has come to this house and specified or informed the house as to the type of towers that they will be embarking on. There will be the towers with bigger reach, and there will be towers with a smaller reach, like 25 kilometers. This is what the survey will identify. And the commitment here is that survey will be done by the end or before the end of the year 2023 in readiness for possible tower construction in the year 2024. We are talking about a particular constituency, which is Milenge here. And even the Honorable Member of Parliament for Milenge, out of the 3 areas that he has talked about, he has identified one, this Lungamikuta, as being much more desperate, perhaps, than the other 2 areas. This will be taken into consideration. So when you say specifically when, I've given a date here, but all things being equal, it's the intention of government to have towers in these areas constructed in 2024, depending on the availability of funds. Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Nyimba.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, this question was asked last year, and phone it's coming today for the answers. And the answer, Honorable Acting Minister is giving, if we go back to the minister, the actual minister for the same ministry, Honorable Mtati, has given the similar answers the minister are giving us. And as parliamentarian, Madam Speaker, we all know that the minister's answers, we've passed that stage. And the last time we were here, the minister said these are going for advertisement in the national press. And as of next month, the minister said, we are going to start construction. Now, I'm worried that we've been taken back again. I'm worried, Minister, because it's like now we are going to say, because if you follow the questions we've asked the tentative minister over this, you'll see that he has answered the same questions you're answering us today. So, Minister, what is really happening with these towers? Are we really going to see them or not? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Acting Minister of Technology and Science.
Madam Speaker, I think the minister has come here and has specified the number of towers that government is seeking to procure for the whole country, and above 100. So the answers that we give are well-researched answers, because we are mindful of the seriousness of responding to members of parliament who raise questions on the floor of this house. These answers are from the Ministry of Science and Technology. So there is no difference between what the substantive minister has said before and what I am saying on his behalf, because they are from the same ministry. What should assuage the feelings of the members of Milenge constituency is the commitment that the survey will be done this year, 2023, before the end of this year, 2023. And in terms of the timing, it's the hope of the ministry that all things being equal, especially the availability of funds within 2024, not only Lunga Mukuta, but the Kalari and the Mulungushi will have towers. I think that's what we should concentrate on. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Chitambo.
Honorable Minister, who is my uncle. Yes, I'll ask him a question though.
Please ask him in his capacity as a minister, not as an uncle.
That's why I said Honorable Minister.
You can go ahead.
So, Honorable Minister, I like the statement you brought out in your answers. You indicated that some documents were solicited from members of parliament to indicate where gaps were identified by the particular constituencies. And the minister came on the floor of the House and indicated that this year was going to do 300 towers. And I'm asking this question, Madam Speaker, because it is the same ministry which has been providing these answers. My question to you, Minister, is, from the time that we gave out those documents, and I'm sure that was the same time the Member of Parliament for Milenge gave you that same document, are these 300 towers going to be part and parcel of the towers that we submitted for construction? I thank you.
The Acting Minister of Technology and Science.
I thank my honorable nephew, member for Chitambo, for that follow-up question. Madam Speaker, the New Dawn government is very serious about moving this country forward from a technological perspective. We think that in terms of doing business, in terms of growing the economy, if we are to embark on a trajectory of utilization of technology, it will enhance our ability to do the things that we want to do for this country. And that is why the Ministry of Science and Technology has embarked on a program to ensure that there is as much connectivity in this country as possible, not just for voice communications, but also for data and so on. The 300 that have been specified, where he's saying that this part of the survey that was done I can assure you that if you look at, say, Milenge, which is one constituency, with 7 sites captured in the gap analysis, this is the fulfillment of that program to ensure that as much of our country is, as possible is covered from a communications point of view. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I'll get the last two, the Honorable Member for Lumezi and the Honorable Member for Bangweulu.
Madam Speaker, I thank you most sincerely. Madam Speaker, we have a problem which we must first identify. The Honorable Acting Minister's response to a question that was asked last year shows that there is a problem, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, Zambians are listening to the answers of these questions, thinking that these questions were asked maybe yesterday or 2 days ago. Yet the questions were prepared last year, and through your office, Madam Speaker, you had sent us a questionnaire in our pigeons to identify sites where we needed towers. And here, the Honorable Minister is telling the Zambian people that he's coming here with a well-researched response. Honorable Acting Minister, we have 2 months before the year ends, and we submitted our sites last year. What assurances are you giving the people of Milenge that these towers will be done next year? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Acting Minister of Technology and Science.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. To be specific, the question that the Ministry is answering now was submitted to this House, not last year, but on 23rd August 2023. So we are talking about a few months ago, maybe 3 months ago, 2 months ago. This is October. Yeah, less than 2 months ago. And this question was submitted to government through Secretary to the Cabinet on 30th August 2023. So it's really a live question, if you like. What assurance has government got to the people of Milenge? The assurance is inherent in the answer given, that before the end of the year, we'll have completed this survey. And as I said, the survey is specific. It goes into detail as what tower will be positioned, as well as the sites for these things. This will be done. And then within the year 2024, some of these sites will have towers. Again, we always say, depending on availability of funds, but as government is very serious about increasing communications, some of those towers will be constructed. And it is our hope that Milenge will also be covered. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The last member, the Honorable Member for Milenge again. The Honorable Member for Milenge, you have a question?
Yes, I have been the owner, but I think you had asked for Bangweulu area.
No, because I saw you, you are entitled to 2 slots.
Okay. All right, okay, thank you. Minister, the area we are talking about, I know we have discussed this before, even under your ministry. It's already raining heavily in those areas, and I'm doubting what kind of works can be done before the heavy rains, because your answer you are referring to the surveys being done. My worry, though, is that these are among the most deprived communities of our society today. Do you attach? Okay, I don't have time for that. Are you attaching any agency to people like these who live in Lungomkuta, given the fact that they are quite deprived in their living standards? I submit, Madam Speaker.
The Acting Minister of Technology and Science.
Madam Speaker, the new Dawn government is a caring government.
Yeah.
We feel for our people. and the deprived areas which have lacked development over many years. Our intention is that we move these to be in tandem with the rest of the country. So my assurance to the honorable member for Milenge is that let us work together. Let us work together to ensure that the survey is completed well, and that within 2024 we can begin to see action, especially with reference to Lungamukuta, which, as he says, is more deprived than others. And I said to the honorable member, who is a very friendly member, that even as a Minister of Infrastructure, if he sees that action is not being followed, he's free to talk to me, and I shall engage the substantive Minister of Science and Technology to make sure that we put up towers, especially at Lungamukuta, to alleviate the difficulties of communications that are currently going through. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Bangweulu.
Thank you, Honorable Madam Speaker. Minister, my question is very simple. I'm just worried that in the absence of these communication towers, our brothers and sisters and our people will have it very difficult to access social cash transfer because now they are using the internet. But my question is this. Do we have a budget line in 2024, a budget? Because we are making assurances that these towers will be mounted in 2024. Can you confirm to this House that you have perused through the proposed estimates and there is a proposed budget for towers in Lungamukuta and Kalali? Because these are my neighbors. Thank you.
The Acting Minister of Technology and Science. So, honorable members, such questions actually we are supposed to wait for the budget, which is coming, so that we confirm and see for ourselves that the budget for communication towers is there. The honorable minister, I don't know whether you've already looked at the budget.
Madam Speaker, as a seasoned parliamentarian, I'm always very careful not to prejudge the debates on the floor of this House. We shall wait and see what is in the budget. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Next question, the honorable member for Kanchivia.
Question 112, Madam Speaker.
The honorable Minister of Transport and Logistics.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The honorable member for Kanchivia, Honorable Sandy Chanda, is asking the Minister of Transport and Logistics, A, whether government has any plans to procure a commercial boat engine in order to provide connectivity through water transport between Kanchivia district and the Lunga, Samfya and the Chinsali districts. In other words, connecting all those 4 districts. B, if so, when the plans will be implemented, and C, if there are no such plans, why? We answer as follows, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I want to inform this august House as follows. A, government may consider plans to procure a commercial boat to provide connectivity through water transport between Kanchivia district and the Lunga, Samfya and Chiluvi districts. The ministry plans to undertake a needs assessment on the navigability of the Chambeshi River in order to make an informed decision. Madam Speaker, kindly take note that government already provides water transport services to Samfya, Chiluvi, and Chifunabuli districts on the shores of Lake Bangweulu and Lake Chifunabuli. There are 2 lakes. Sometimes we assume it's 1 lake. Using 4 reliable government boats, namely MV Luchera Nganga, which is 120-seater vessel, Zampo's 60-seater passenger boat, a 32-seater boat operated by Bangweulu Water Transport Board, and a 14-seater operated by Chiluvi District Council. There are also private boats that service Chiluvi and the Lunga districts. You may also wish to note that government is in the process of devolving some water transport functions to local authorities. In this regard, the Ministry of Transport and Logistics is devolving some functions from the Maritime and the Pontoons departments to the local authorities such as Samfya and Chelenge district councils. The ministry will undertake capacity building for these councils and help them undertake needs assessment. Further, the private sector is being encouraged to provide water transport services to the people in needy areas, while necessary infrastructure will be done by the local authorities in conjunction with the central government. And the B, as alluded to in Part A above, government may consider plans to procure a commercial boat to service Kanchivia district and Lunga, Samfya, and the Chiluvi districts, subject to this needs analysis that we are going to undertake. C, plans to procure a boat in Kanchivia constituency will only be undertaken once the ministry undertakes a needs assessment on the ability to navigate on Chambeshi River. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Supplementary questions. The Honorable Member for Kanchivia.
Madam Speaker, I thank you. Madam Speaker, on the 14th of May 2023, the ministry undertook a needs assessment or a survey looking at the borderline between Chambeshi River and Lake Chaya and Bangweulu, Lake Bangweulu. Our question and our interest from Kanchivia would be, what were the findings and recommendations from this particular assessment the ministry undertook? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Acting Minister of Transport and Logistics.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I thank Honorable Member for Parliament. The information that I have from the minister, and I've gone into details to find out exactly what's being done, is that in terms of Kanchivia and the ability to use Chambeshi River to connect into the areas that he has spoken to, there is need for a needs survey or analysis. Now, what the Honorable Member is saying is there was another needs analysis that was done. What I am aware of, and the answers provided from the ministry, is that there is need for a needs analysis. As to whether there was another needs analysis and what were the results, that I would have to answer another time. The main thing now is we are going to carry out a needs analysis, and based on that, it will be determined whether or not we can put up a port transport to link those districts that have been mentioned. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Kanchivia.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, it takes 3 days for our people to paddle from Kanchivia to Samfya. And using an engine boat, it would take 7 hours from Kanchivia to Samfya. The distance we are talking about is 200 kilometers. Madam Speaker, as we speak, we know very well that there is no Lake Bangweulu without Chambeshi River. There is no Lake Chaya without Chambeshi River. So Chambeshi River pours into Lake Chaya. Lake Chaya forms Bangweulu River. Our interest would be, not just for Kanchivia, but also for the rest of Muchinga, connecting with Luapula province by water. We think that this sits very well in the strategic plan for the ministry to promote the subsector called water transport. Our question, Madam Speaker, would be, what strategies is the ministry putting in place to support water transport development between Kanchibia and Luapula? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Acting Minister of Transport and Logistics.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Yes, the Honourable Member is absolutely right. The Chabish River is what feeds the Bangweo Flats. And from Bangweo Flats, it comes out as Luapula River and so on to Mweru and so on. The use of water transport is a priority also for the new Dawn government, because we know that we have places in some of our provinces where road transport is not possible, specifically in Luapula and in certain parts of Western Province. But in order for these to have permanent solutions, sustainable solutions, there is need for a needs analysis. The fact that a river flows into a lake does not mean that because the lake can be navigated, the river also can be navigated. So that has to be ascertained. The needs analysis that the Honourable Member was talked about was not aware that the needs analysis had been carried out in the past. In fact, what was carried out in the past was assessment was made on the landing sites for the pontoon ferry connecting the two areas mentioned. So that is just for the pontoon ferry. But this time, it will cover many other areas, including whether it can be the river Chambeshi, especially where it touches on Kanchivia, can be used for navigation as it goes into the swamps and the big lakes. And of course, it will also determine the need for that mode of transportation, because ultimately it has to pay for itself. This is what we mean by the needs analysis, which government is committing itself to carrying out and then taking the decision from that point of view. We know that there are other constituencies within that area that would benefit from greater water transport. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Bangweulu.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, once again. Minister, maybe first things first. You are talking about doing a needs assessment. In the past, Honourable Minister, I need your attention, Honourable Minister. The Honourable Member...
Honourable Member, you are addressing that question to me?
Yes, Honourable.
Before it goes to the Minister. I'm attentively listening.
Yes, Madam Speaker. The Honourable Member of Parliament who asked the question, the one we are helping, is the one who is distracting the Minister.
Can you imagine? That's why they don't answer properly.
But Minister, in the past, before you do the needs assessment, I think there should be records at Minister of Transport. In the past, there was a channel from Kanchivia into Lunga, coming in through Mpanta into Lake Bangweulu. That is what we should be talking about, creating an environment and creating that channel. Do you have immediate plans as a ministry to ensure that that channel from Kanchivia, Ilonga, Mpanta, and then into Bangweulu, Lake Bangweulu, so that now the issue of buying vessels can be secondary? Thank you, Minister.
The Acting Minister of Transport and Logistics.
I'm thankful for that question from the Honourable Member for Bangweulu. Again, sometimes I'm a bit fortunate. I've flown over this area and seen all these channels and so on in my other roles. And of course, the need to ensure that those channels can be navigated is of paramount importance. I think there is a canal there where you can actually see it from the air and so on. So these matters will be followed up. This needs analysis. In fact, we want you, the members of parliament, who are also from there, to take keen interest, including the honorable member for Kanchivia, to ensure that needs analysis is done properly so that a decision can then be made to ensure that facilities are put in place to service our people. But as you have noticed from the answer here, the provision of transport, any form of transport, should not be left only to government. Those private sector players who have ability to provide that service, they're also welcome to come in and provide those services, including members of parliament who have capacity. Mid-term will be coming. Some of it can be used to procure boats that can run in this particular area. But government will do their part. That's the point I'm making, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. We make progress. Next question, the Honorable Member for Chilanga.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Question 113.
The Honorable Minister of Water Development and Sanitation.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Lazo, MP for Chilanga Parliamentary Constituency, is asking the Minister of Water Development and Sanitation the question, which is in two parts, as follows. A, when government will connect water to the following areas in Chilanga Parliamentary Constituency: 1, Freedom; 2, Musamba; 3, Longridge; number 4, Game and Fisheries; and number 5, Malombwe Ward. And B, what measures the government is taking to address the water challenges in Apollo L85. Madam Speaker, our response to this question is as follows: that A, government has plans to connect water to game and fisheries, to Freedom, Musamba, Longridge, and Namalombwe areas of Chilanga Parliamentary Constituency in that order. The above named areas, Madam Speaker, will be connected in a phased approach once funds are available. B, Madam Speaker, government is taking the following measures to address the water challenges in Apollo L85. 1, that preliminary works for the Lusaka West water supply improvement projects are being done with the support from the cooperating partners for the development of a well field to produce about 50 million liters of water per day. The beneficiary areas for this project will be Lusaka West, L85, Namalombwe Ward, and the surrounding areas. Number 2, Madam Speaker, once preliminary works are completed, government will begin sourcing for the financier to implement the project. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Supplementary questions? The Honorable Member for Chilanga.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, if you go to Chilanga, even as I speak now, Chilanga Main, there is no water. All the boreholes there have dried up and the people don't have any water, Madam Speaker. If you go to the Apollo L85 military cantonment, Madam Speaker, there are about 3,300 housing units and a population of about 23,600 people there. Madam Speaker, the people there, from the time they moved into this cantonment, they've never had water from about the year 2015. People there have to wake up as early as 4 a.m. because they only have water from about 06 to about 7 a.m. And then people have to be ferried to town, the children have to come to school. So, Madam Speaker, I wanted to find out from the Minister of Water, if at all there could be any temporal measures, especially for Chilanga Main, so that the people in Chilanga Main could have water. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Water Development and Sanitation.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, in answering this question, I mentioned the areas which we intend to work on. Obviously, I don't live in Chilanga. The Member of Parliament knows the areas very well. And I can only answer this question based on the information I've been given in relation to the areas that have been mentioned. But beyond that, I'm open to have an engagement with the Member of Parliament in terms of getting the details around the Chilanga location. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Mufulira.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, it's very clear that from the Honorable Member for Chilanga, the larger part of Chilanga has a critical shortage of water. Now, Madam Speaker, I do remember that last week we had a question about water for Chimwemwe constituency. We also had a question about water shortage affecting Kamfinsa. We also had a problem with water affecting Petauke. Myself, Madam Speaker, I've stood on this floor talking about the water shortage in Mufulira constituency. So my question to the Honorable Minister, I do understand the responses that he gives, that there are some projects that are in place. What I see is that, water, as they say, water is life. And the critical shortage requires urgent attention. Given that this problem is not just about Chilanga, as we have seen, I've outlined briefly the areas that have come here. Honorable Minister, why don't you just declare this critical water shortage in Chilanga and many other areas a disaster, so that it will speed up the works that you are talking about, and it can also attract a lot of resources to invest in the water supply in this country. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Water Development and Sanitation.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I want to thank the MP from Mufulira for that supplementary question. Madam Speaker, the question from the Member of Parliament for Chilanga and the follow-up question was very clear that these houses in some parts of Chilanga were constructed as way back as 2015. And from 2015, our people there, regrettably, Madam Speaker, have not had water. So if it was necessary to declare this situation as a disaster, including the areas that the Member of Parliament has talked about in Mufulira, those problems again have not started now. They have been there for a long time. So why wasn't a disaster not declared at that time? Why should it be done now when we are providing resources? I've responded for the Chilanga, for example, that we are doing some preliminary works there with a view of building a well, constructing a well field, which will help us to provide water for the people of that part of Chilanga.
Order, Honorable Minister. As the time is 16:40 hours, I interrupt business for 20 minutes.
Parliament Television. The House has just taken a 20 minutes health break, and under consideration are questions for oral answer under Standing Order 74. And at the time business was interrupted, the Honorable Minister of Water Development and Sanitation was responding to a follow-up question that was posed by Mufulira Central Member of Parliament, Mr. Gordon Mwila. And earlier on, when business resumed today, Madam Speaker, I did make 3 announcements, and after the 3 announcements, Madam Speaker, did permit the Minister of Energy, that's Engineer Peter Chibwe Kapala, MP, to render a ministerial statement on the transportation of petroleum products in Zambia. We will get to the details at a later stage. And another ministerial statement was rendered by the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, that's Honorable Stanley Kakubo, and that's on the ongoing situation in Israel. We will equally get to the details of this ministerial statement at a later stage. But just now, we break.
Hello and a warm welcome to this special program where we look at the work of the Expanded Planning and Budgeting Committee. You will recall that on Friday, the 29th of September 2023, the Minister of Finance and National Planning, Dr. Stumbeko Musokotwane, unveiled the 178 billion kwacha 2024 national budget under the theme Unlocking Economic Potential. Now, the 2024 national budget has since been referred to the Expanded Planning and Budgeting Committee for scrutiny, and various stakeholders are actually making submissions to the committee. To shed more light on this matter, I have with me the chairperson of the Expanded Planning and Budgeting Committee, and that's Mr. Fred Jatila. Honorable, it's a pleasure to have you on the program.
Thank you, Claudette, and good morning.
All right, it's that time of the year where we get to talk about the national budget.
The national budget, yes.
All right, so you are the chairperson of the Budget Committee, and now there's the Expanded Planning and Budgeting Committee. Just help us understand what this simply means.
Okay, so essentially, as you have put it, I'm the chairperson for the Planning and Budgeting Committee. So what happens is when the Minister of Finance and National Planning does present a national budget, then it's a requirement as per the Planning and Budgeting Act of 2020 to constitute what is now called the Expanded Planning and Budgeting Committee. So the Expanded Planning Budgeting Committee draws members from the Planning and Budgeting Committee, where we are 10. These are my members in the Planning and Budgeting Committee. And then now you bring in the chairpersons from the other committees, the portfolio committees, the general purpose committees, and also the housekeeping committees. So bringing the total number to 28. So that is why now it's called the expanded, because then you have to bring in the other chairpersons. And then by virtue of me being the chairperson for the Planning and Budgeting Committee, then automatically I assume the role of the chairperson now for the Expanded Planning and Budgeting Committee.
So essentially, what is your role as a chairperson and the other chairpersons of the other committees?
So basically, my role as the chairperson of the Expanded Planning and Budgeting Committee, the committees are kind of a mini parliament. So in this case, I'm almost like, I would say, maybe almost like Mr. Speaker of the committee, basically to coordinate the activities of the committee as you are sitting. So I have to ensure that obviously there's issues of order in the committee, and ensure that at any given time, we have the quorum of the members, and also attend to other issues. As you are sitting, you have observed that in this instance we are supposed to have about 28 members, if everyone is there. But usually within this sitting again, you find there are other members who are supposed to attend the other committees. So I need to know. So I have to act in a way that at any given time, first and foremost, the quorum should not be compromised, because at any given time you need about minimum 14 members. So as you start the day, you have to know who is going to be around, who is going where in terms of the performing other duties. Yeah, so primarily is that is my role around that, managing, ensuring that the committee work is not compromised in any way.
Why was it important to bring along other chairpersons of different committees? One would have thought you'd, chair the committee all by yourself.
So it is important because, the budget is a huge document it's a national document. And that, as I said earlier on, we have the General Purpose Committee, of which Planning and Budgeting Committee is a General Purpose Committee. Why? Because we cut across all the ministries. Just like the Public Accounts Committee, just like now we have the parastatal bodies and the Local Government Accounts Committee. Those are general purposes. But now, why you find we have other chairpersons now who are looking at the portfolio committees. Like, say, we have the chairperson for Committee on Agriculture, chairperson Committee on Energy, chairperson Committee on maybe Tourism. And we are looking at the budget in totality, where, as the minister has pronounced, it cuts across all these. So it's very important because we have the need to understand their role or their input in the analysis of the budget, because it involves other ministries. Ideally, yes, we have indicated we could have managed as basically as a committee, planning and budgeting committee. We can do that, but always it's important to expand, because at the end of the day, remember, when this budget now is being implemented, these chairpersons of these other committees also are going at some point, at least at some point, they will have some work to do with what is their role in terms of that specific sector committee. So it is very important that they are also involved, at least they will know as we look at that. Now, this has been going on for a long time, but you may be aware that going forward, we are trying, in fact, to, let me use the term, dismantle this aspect whereby the Planning and Budgeting Committee with the expanded committees are looking at the budget in totality. Going forward, what we want to do is, when the Minister of Finance does present the budget in Parliament, then each sector committee must sit with their members. So the chairperson on agriculture should sit with his or her members just to now look at the budget relating to agriculture. Then once they finish now their work, they now have to appear before the Planning and Budgeting Committee, where now we are receiving their submission. And this has started last year. We had the pilot for 2 committees. That was energy and I think national economy. This year we were hoping, in fact, we go flat out, but that has not happened. So what we have done is, again, we are piloting 5. I think that's transport and logistics, education, health, agriculture, and energy. So I think these are the national economy. So these are the ones which we are piloting. So this, you see it changing next year. I'm hoping we'll be ready to go, such that now each sector will be managed by the committee responsible for that sector.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you are currently sitting as the expanded planning and budgeting committee, and as Parliament Television, we get to, televise your sitting live, starting 9:30 going upwards. How is it going so far? You're busy receiving, submissions from various stakeholders.
Yeah, it's been busy. We started sitting, I think, should be on the 2nd of October. We are going all the way to 31st. We have 17 days to sit. And it has been very busy, I must mention. So we have received quite a lot of submissions from various sectors, the NGOs, the private sector. You realize this time around we have 17 days. Usually we have been doing about 12. So we have done 17 days because of that aspect of us now piloting the 5 committees. But so far it's been good, but I'm telling you it has been very busy, because you may be aware that also starting last year, the Minister of Finance and National Planning is required by way or by an act of Parliament, the Public Debt Management Act, where he also present together with the budget the annual borrowing plan. So we have been sitting, in fact, I've had to run 2 committees at the same time. The expanded planning and budgeting committee in the morning, in the afternoon we are doing the annual borrowing plan.
One would argue, why have the submissions now? Why not have the submissions before the presentation of the budget for the following year?
So the budgeting process starts way back, I think somewhere in April, where the ministry with other stakeholders, they do that. So there's a lot of work between April to, say, August, before the budget is consolidated, or so at least somewhere by July, where a lot of background work is being done at the Ministry of Finance. They are receiving submissions in that respect. So you find now that we know, because at that time we cannot hold these meetings because you don't know what is contained in the budget. So now that we know, or the cut is out, then we know what is contained in the budget. It's also now good to now get back now, bring the sector now as Parliament, because that's where our work starts as Parliament, when the budget is out. That's when we start working. So you will find that, in fact, as we meet as a committee, one of our role would still ask these stakeholders, some of them will come, if at all they were involved in the initial stages, if they were consulted. So there are some who say, no, we were consulted on this one. Has it gone the way you wanted it to be? Some will say yes. Obviously, most of them will complain that maybe the allocation in terms of the budget has not been as they expected. And it's understood, because you know, if you open it, you have mentioned the budget for this year is about 177 billion. But if I can imagine at the time where you just do a wish list, maybe you'll be running into maybe 1 trillion. But in the meantime, the basket, or our economy, or in terms of revenue generation, you can only accommodate so much. So the Ministry of Finance, I want to guess, they do a lot of trimming down to at least accommodate. Yeah, so as it is now, we are not. And this has been one of the complaints from the members of Parliament, that in fact, in the budget formulation process, it would be good to involve the parliamentarians from the time of when the budget process just started.
Yeah. So having said that, are you able to tell us the outcome of this meeting after all is said and done?
For now, no. I'm tired. I'm tired because we can only say how things are when we have laid the report in Parliament, because then at that point it becomes a public document. For now, I'm tired. I will not say. All what I can say is, so far we have done well. We have done justice as a chairperson for the committee. I'm very happy. Members have really been committed, and I see this going all the way up to the conclusion of the matter. Yeah. So you know our report in totality once we are done.
Yeah. And are you able to tell us then when you are going to, submit the report to the House?
So the report, if I'm not mistaken, we have finished on the 31st. I think it should be 2nd of November. The report should be laid on the table in the House. Yes, it will be submitted. Yeah, because then after that, then the House would dissolve in committees. Yeah.
So what do you think is the important contribution that the committee is making to the the work of the Zambian Parliament in the in the democratic governance of the country?
For me, it's the issues of oversight. Oversight starts in the committees, and for me, I think not really being biased, but the committee works are very, very important. When we take it like in the House, basically is for purposes of debating it and the like. But when you are in the main House, you know that you have two sides. You have the one from the ruling side and the one from the opposition. So it's as how you see it. But when you're in the committee, because you are bringing in sector players or the public, that which you are non-political, so to say. So even you see their objectivity as they bring in the issues. So it's from that part of their objectivity or their submissions. Then now that enhances our oversight as Parliament. That's key. We can't just let things like maybe from the ministry it comes and then it goes. So it in fact it strengthens our oversight role as a Parliament. We are able to also interrogate, and also issues of transparency, because when the budget has come out, we are able now to look at all the figures, and the issues of transparency come in. Well, especially now, we are giving more teeth, like we know that now the minister, as opposed to the way it was before, cannot borrow without approval of Parliament. So for me, these type of works that which we are doing are strengthening in terms of our oversight role, and also just to promote transparency so that nothing is swept under the carpet. Yeah.
All right, so we're coming towards the tail end of this program. I just want to get your concluding remarks. I know you're still sitting, and we are all anxiously waiting to, to hear what the report will be at the end of the day. Your concluding remarks.
So, I mean, in terms of conclusion, I think for me, I would have loved a situation whereby through this kind of engagement, the masses out there, they keenly follow these issues. What is the budget? How does it work? And not just up to the point of approval. Even after that, we still have a lot of work in terms of follow-up. I thought that is very important also, because we are not just stopping at the budget, yes, whether approved or not. But you know that the budget by 31st December, it has been somehow approved, so that by 1st of January the following year, then the ministries or the government is not collapsed. Because once, if you don't approve it by 31st December, there's no way the government will carry out any projects in the coming year, or there will be a delay. But I think in my concluded remarks, this is a process which is very important, and privileged to chair the committee is just to implore, I think, most of the Zambians, if not everyone, that they need to be interested in what is happening in terms of their resources, because these are the people's resources, so they need to be interested what is happening. Are we representing them well as parliamentarians in ensuring that there's objectivity in what we do? I think so. For me, it's basically a call to the people out there, or those who will be having an opportunity to watch, just to ensure that maybe they pay particular attention, and also to mention, Claudette, in closing, that even as we are sitting like now to interrogate the budget, members of the public are free. They can write through the clerk or the Madam Speaker, requesting that they have something they want to contribute. So this sitting alone, we have had only one member of the public who has come in to give his personal views, and I think that is how it should be. For me, I would like to see more of that happening. Yeah.
All right. It's been a pleasure having you on this special program.
Thank you very much, and all the best.
We also wish you all the best.
No. We are equal to the task, so we'll finish soon.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. There you have it. My guest has been the chairperson of the Expanded Planning and Budgeting Committee, Mr. Fred Jatila. Till next time, it's pleasant viewing.
Hello, Lusaka Central. This Saturday, the 21st of October, 2023, from 8:30 hours to 12:30 hours, we shall be holding our first ever open day. The idea behind this open day is for you and us, the Lusaka Central constituency team, to have an opportunity to interact and engage with one another, so that you are able to ask all the questions, understand our operations, and just enjoy a day with us at your constituency office. Our constituency office is located off Buluwe Road in Woodlands. Opposite Woodlands B Primary School is where you'll find the signage which will show you the direction to where the open day will be held. We would invite you all to come and enjoy this day with us. There will be lots of activities. If you have nowhere to leave the children, come with them. We'll have a jumping castle to keep them entertained. We will have also various activities taking place. Some of you might be lucky and win a prize. It's going to be a wonderful day. We've got several partners that are coming to offer their services on the day. So come and see what is in store for you, and you'll certainly have the day of your life. Take this opportunity to come to the first ever Lusaka Central Constituency Open Day.
Good afternoon. Thank you for still watching Parliament Television. Shortly, we will be taking you to the floor of the House for the live parliamentary proceedings and under consideration. Good afternoon. Bells are still ringing. There seems to be no quorum present in the House. It is a requirement that 1/3 of members of Parliament is to be transacted on the floor of the House. And so once a quorum is formed, we do expect business to resume. And under consideration is question for oral answer under Standing Order 74. That's question 113, which came from Mr. Sipo Lazo, who is Chilanga Member of Parliament. And he did ask the Minister of Development and Sanitation when the government will connect water to the following areas in Chilanga Parliamentary Constituency: Freedom, Musamba, Long Ridge, Game and Fisheries, Namalombwe Ward. And in B, what measures the government is taking to address the water challenges in Apollo L85. And so we do expect the Minister of Water, Development and Sanitation to continue responding to the follow-up questions that the members of Parliament were accorded to ask the Minister of Water, Development and Sanitation. And yet to be considered is question 114 and question 115. Question 114 is expected to come from Mr. Andrew Tayengwa, who is Kawata Member of Parliament, and is expected to ask the Minister of Health why the National Mental Health Council had not been established as of April 2023, despite the enactment of the Mental Health Act number 6 of 2019. And question 115 is expected to come from Mr. Kalalwe Mukosa, who is Chinsali Member of Parliament, and is expected to ask the Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development in A, whether the government has any plans to tar the Mbesu-Makafwimbi Road in Chinsali district, and in B, if so, when the plans will be implemented.
Order. When business was suspended, the House was considering question 113 on the order paper asked by the Honorable Member for Chilanga, and the Honorable Minister of Water, Development and Sanitation was responding to a supplementary question asked by the Honorable Member for Mfurida. May the Honorable Minister continue?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I was just explaining, Mr. Speaker, that there is no need for this government at this moment to declare a disaster in relation to the various challenges that the various communities are faced with in terms of water challenges. Mr. Speaker, what is true is what I've already said before the floor of this House, that there has been low investment in the water sector, and we inherited these problems, and many of our colleagues, including the one who asked this supplementary question, they were telling the whole country that the country has experienced massive infrastructure development. Now, what we expected was that the so-called massive infrastructure development should have had a positive impact, should have also included the water sector. Now, if communities, including Chilanga, which is just within Lusaka, would be mentioning here, like the MP has mentioned, that from 2015, when those communities were established or people settled there, they have never seen a drop of water, they have not been connected to water, then where is this so-called massive infrastructure that our colleagues on the left had been singing about? Sometimes what we, Mr. Speaker, what I expected actually was an apology to say they had not put money in the water sector, and as a result of that, we have all these massive challenges. To ask a question, as it was asked by the Member of Parliament for Mufurira, is like to blame a person who is in grade 2 to say that you have not qualified when this person in grade 2 has not even sat for grade 7 exam. To expect that this government, which is only 2 years in government, would have provided also all the solutions to the challenges that they left, and to even suggest that we must declare a disaster, I think is a misplaced position. We have found these problems, and as stated, Mr. Speaker, we are doing some preliminary works in the Chilanga constituency, in particular in Lusaka West, where we envisage, where we plan to develop a well field, and in the long term, these problems that were left by the PF government will be a thing of the past. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Chifubu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Minister for Water, I want to appreciate that the challenges of water across the country that constituency after constituency they have been confronting, they have not come in the last 2 years. They have been inherited problems from past administrations. It is unfortunate that today the problem is being heaped on you. However, Pianangwa, Piananamabala, yes, we have inherited all the problems. But we want to appreciate the steps you are taking to alleviate the water challenges in the country. Going back to the question, Honorable Minister, the people of Kafiwe, they have suffered as a result of this long-standing water problem. Chilanga have suffered as a result of this long-standing water problem. My question to you is, as a caring government, are you considering introducing a water bowser in certain areas just to assist our people in Chilanga to alleviate the challenges of water? Thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Water, Development and Sanitation.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I appreciate the background of that question. And I want to say that the provision of water bowsers is a very expensive undertaking to provide water using water bowsers. And it's usually only considered where we are really hit with a very stressed situation. But from the background of the question in Chilanga is that our people there have lived like that from 2015. Now, in the meantime, we are saying that we are taking measures to respond to one particular area in Lusaka West, and obviously it can't be throughout the whole Chilanga constituency, but measures will be put in place, like I've said, to ensure that the well field is developed. We are working towards mobilizing resources as soon as the preliminary works are done there, and we can resolve the issues around L85 residential area. As to the other parts of Chilanga, as we go on, Mr. Speaker, we are putting various interventions. So for now, we've not considered the issue of the water bowser. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Nyimba.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Minister, you agree with me that across the country, people have been complaining about about water. If you look at the problem in Chilanga, I think it's one of the problems we have in the country. And you may agree with me that the biggest problem, Mr. Speaker, just allow me to say this. You agree with me that the biggest problem has been lack of planning with of mushrooming townships by our local authorities. And we may wish to know that other countries who came to this country to borrow the idea, for example, our colleagues who came from Namibia, they borrowed an idea from me. They have surpassed us by 20 or 100 times. Minister, Chilanga is a wet constituency, meaning the water bodies are within vicinity of Chilanga constituency. And you may agree with me that constituencies like Nyimba, they are dry constituencies. There is no water nearby. Do you have a plan within the ministry? Because I've looked at your budget. It's not encouraging. You don't have the money in that budget. Do you have a plan which you can come up with in the next, 2024 to 2025, a plan where you're going to say, okay, we'll start tackling district by district or constituency by constituency, so that we start tackling this water, because your colleagues on your left-hand side, they started something. They were ready to start a project because there was no investment. So looking at where they have ended, so this is perpetual succession. Do you have a plan to start building on from where they started? Because we can keep on blaming people today, but you know that at the end of the day, we need to succeed. Do you have a plan so that come 2026 to 2030, we will stop talking about these water issues every day in Parliament? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Water Development and Sanitation.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yes, we have a plan as a ministry, but also as a country, we have the plan in terms of how we tackle various challenges in the various sectors. So as a ministry, yes, we have our plan in terms of what we need to provide at what point. And you heard me when I was told that do you have an intention to provide water bowsers in stressed areas like Chilanga? I said no, because one of our plans, we've already looked into these issues of using the water bowsers, and when you look at the plan that we have versus the provision of water using water bowsers, it becomes very, very expensive. Now, Mr. Speaker, I want to agree with the Member of Parliament for Nyimba that we have water challenges across the country. And he is attributing to this problem to mainly unplanned settlement. Yes, that could be one of the problems. But we must also appreciate that one of the new challenges that we have is the problems of climate change, the problems brought about as a result of climate change. We're not receiving enough water, and as we speak now, around this month we are in, this is the peak of the dry season, and most of the boreholes, particularly in areas like Chilanga, certain areas of Chongwe, but also different parts of the country, the boreholes are failing because the water table now is very, very low. So other than the issues to do with unplanned settlement, which makes it very, very difficult to achieve the provision of water supply and sanitation services, we also have this reality before us where both the surface water sources have suffered because the water levels have gone down. If I may just give you an example, that in Livingstone, the current situation now in Livingstone is that our intake point on the Zambezi, the water pumps are not able to pump the water because the water levels have gone down to a point where the pumps cannot abstract the water. And all these are as a result of the problems of climate change. And this is why we want to encourage the members of parliament, we want to encourage the civic leaders that we must take the challenges that are before us, in particular the climate change challenges, and begin to put measures in place to reverse the damage that has been done by planting trees and taking various measures that will help us to repair this damage. I thought I should say that, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much.
The Honorable Member for Ron.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and let me appreciate the Minister of Water. He's a minister who is so understanding and at the same time hardworking, and I cannot encourage you to continue on your pace. Honorable Minister, you have alluded to embarking on doing the well fields, and in your answer, you have partly answered my concern. But have you done your due diligence to ensure that as you are embarking on doing these well fields, have you assessed the water tables, how it is, whether it's fit for human consumption, And also, have you tested for any fecal matters, as you have already said that some of these challenges are created by the mushrooming settlements that are unplanned? Have we looked at the fecal matters on this, on where you want to put the well fields? And lastly, Honorable Minister, I just want to encourage you and ask you to start winning out some of these projects like the Kafulafta water dam project, so that at least some of these challenges countrywide can start be narrowing down. I thank you, Madam Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Minister of Water Development and Sanitation.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I also want to thank the Member of Parliament for Ron for that very good question. Yes, Mr. Speaker, like I said, in relation to the question I'm responding to regarding Chilanga Parliamentary Constituency, that we are currently doing the preliminary works. So in doing the preliminary works, what we mean is that our officers are mapping out the area where we intend to put the well field. And among the things that we have to do is exactly what you are suggesting, to ensure that we ascertain the water table levels, to ensure that the water is certainly going to be adequate to supply that area. But also in there lies the issue of quality, the quality of water, to ensure that the water will be abstracting is void of contamination, but also to ensure that the areas where we are targeting to put these well fields are away from human settlement, again, to avoid the issue of future possible contaminations. So all those measures are indeed being put in place. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The last question, the Honourable Member for Petauke Central.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving the good people of Petauke this opportunity to ask a follow-up question from the Minister of Water. Minister of Water, in Msamba, Freedom Way, these are the community, some of them that have stayed in this community for more than 30 years. And I remember visiting one of my relatives in Freedom. Now, Minister, the pipe, the one which supplies water in Lusaka, comes from Kafue, and it passes through Chilanga. Don't you think of opening an outlet connecting from the same, so that Chilanga should be the first ones to benefit before even it reaches Lusaka? Why are you saying thank you? Wait, I'm finished. I'm in charge. You can be in charge.
Honourable Member, ask your question.
Yeah. Are you thinking, due to the challenges, and you have heard that in Kanyama, there's even an outbreak now of cholera because of the same water. So, Member of Kanyama, talk on your behalf on the people.
Honourable Member of Petauke, let's be serious.
But
no,
tell them,
no,
they're making noise. Honorable Minister, I'm sure they're trying to confuse you, but I'll correct them.
Honourable Member, take your seat. You were given an opportunity to ask, but now you are debating with the people. You can continue.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for your protection. Now, Minister, when are you thinking to do, or maybe can you do that so that the people from Freedom, from Samba, from fisheries, all of them, so that they can, at least they can be rescued to get those diseases like cholera as soon as possible. I thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Water Development and Sanitation.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I also want to thank the Member of Parliament for Petauke Central for that question. Mr. Speaker, let me also take advantage of my being back on the floor to finish off the question from the Member of Parliament for Roni. I think he was suggesting that we need to move very quickly and finish off the other projects that are ongoing. I want to assure the Member of Parliament for Ron that we are on course to finish off a number of projects, in particular the one he referred to, the Kaflafuta water project. Our projection is that by close of December, Mr. Speaker, we should be done with that project, and we want to dedicate the month of January to start doing the pressure testing, and hopefully after we are certain that the network and the other connections are in tip-top condition, then we should be planning to commission. And once commissioned, we expect that the people of Ndola, the people of Luansha, the people of Mpongwe, the people of Masaiti will be receiving clean water, and they will have adequate supply. I want to take advantage of this to thank the Minister of Finance, who has been very instrumental, and his officials, to ensure that money is sent to the project. And the same applies to the many projects that are restored, which we are completing. I want to assure the House, Mr. Speaker, that we are on course to ensure that all these projects should be completed in time so that they can save our people. Coming to the question asked by the Member of Parliament for Petauke Central, we are not considering puncturing or connecting into the pipe. Engineering, it doesn't work like that, because if you are to do that, it means you are going to affect the design of the network. You affect the pressure. So this pipeline is going through a distance of 56 kilometers from Kafue to Lusaka. And honestly, if wherever it's passing where there are water challenges, we are going to do a tee-off, a tap-off, then it will affect the design to supply water to the intended project. But suffice to tell you that we are alive to the many challenges, the water-related challenges our people of Chilanga are going through, and we are planning. Very soon, watch the space, we'll be announcing a mega project which will change the face of Lusaka and the surrounding places. So just be a bit patient. We are working in the background and we'll be announcing. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. We'll make progress. Next question, the Honorable Member for Kabata.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Question number 114.
The Honorable Minister of Health.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Member of Parliament for Kabata is asking the Minister of Health the following questions. Why the National Mental Health Council had not been established as of April 2023, despite the enactment of the Mental Health Act number 6 of 2019. Our response, Mr. Speaker, is as follows. Mr. Speaker, the National Mental Health Council has not been established since the enactment of the Mental Health Act number 6 of 2019 due to limited physical space. The House may wish to note that there were no funds allocated in 2019 itself, 2020, 2021, and 2022 budgets for the establishment of the National Mental Health Council. However, Mr. Speaker, it is important to note that mental disorders have continued to increase, particularly during the COVID-19 pandemic. mainly due to stress or anxiety, depression, harmful use of alcohol and drugs, self-harm, and suicidal behaviors. To this effect, government has in 2023 budget allocated funds for the establishment of the National Mental Health Council. Mr. Speaker, the House may also wish to note that the process of appointing the board of the National Mental Health Council has reached an advanced stage. And as soon as the necessary approval processes are completed, the board for the National Mental Health Council shall be appointed. Mr. Speaker, it is expected that once appointed, the board shall put in place a comprehensive roadmap that will not only enable it to discharge its mandate effectively, but most importantly, provide strategic direction to the operation and management of the National Mental Health Mental Council. Mr. Speaker, I thank you.
The Honorable Member for Kabwata.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Minister, if you look at the functions of the National Mental Health Council, one of the functions states that the council is supposed to advise the minister on all policy matters relating to mental health. If you look at the national policy that was issued way back in 2005, it is actually outdated and it's not speaking to the needs of the mental health issues now. Do you have any plans of revising the national policy that was issued way back in 2005?
The Honorable Minister of Health.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Honorable Member of Parliament for Kabwata, for your follow-up question. Indeed, the national mental health policy is outdated, and we are in the process of having it reviewed. It is also true to say that issues to do with mental health have taken a different twist due to many factors, including the COVID-19, which I talked about, and of course, issues of economic nature, unemployment among the youths, and also just the general abuse of alcohol and other substances. And we recognize that as government, and even as we do what we are doing in terms of enacting the council, establishing the board, we have not folded our hands, no. There are quite a number of activities that we are doing to try and deal with some of the effects of some of these economic issues that have affected our youths. And also to say that it is for this reason that the government of the Republic of Zambia have agreed to work with the African Union to host a high-level conference in the first week of November for 2 days, wherein we'll be looking at issues of mental health effects as a result of alcohol abuse and all these vices that are affecting our children, adolescents in this country, the youths. And I also want to say that even outside the council, we have a multi-sectorial national committee that has been working with government and various sectors of government, Minister of Local Government and Housing, Minister of Justice, Minister of Science, Minister of Health, to look at the effects of some of these issues. So even outside the establishment of the formal council, we are taking different steps to address, including doubling the budget towards mental health care under the Ministry of Health. Thank you.
The Honorable Member from Mbabala.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, for giving the good people of Mbabala an opportunity to ask a follow-up question from Hontaingwa. Honorable Minister, first of all, I wish to appraise you on the launch of the Disability Inclusion and Rights Caucus here at Parliament. which can also work with you to advance knowledge and sharing on the issues of disability and mental health at National Assembly and indeed in our communities. So please do take advantage of this caucus to take things forward. My question in the area of legal capacity, one of the lacunas in that 2019 Act is the issue of legal capacity in there. How is the ministry, legal capacity during a crisis, how is the ministry taking forward the issues of mental health in the absence of a council, especially dealing with the issues of legal capacity during a crisis? I thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Health.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Honorable, for your follow-up question, although I hope I heard you right. I think that the first is to say that the fact that the council has not been established does not mean that there is nothing being done. No. Even without the new council being established, there was and there is a policy that has been implemented, except it has been taken over by events. Secondly, we have different institutions under the ministry and other sector ministries like security ministries like police and Ministry of Justice, Ministry of Community Development, that also deal with issues of mental health issues. And we are addressing some of the impacts or the effects of mental health through these various avenues, except that we realize that this issue is multi-sectorial, and hence there was a new act put in place, hence the need for reviewing the old act. And also, I'm glad you yourself have said that even the parliamentarians now have come on board. They are also doing something. You are talking about issues of legality. We have the Minister of Justice. In this country, take note, on almost every issue, there is always something. There's always a piece of legislation that can address a situation. Maybe not comprehensively. And that's why we continuously review policies. We continuously update legislation to bring them in tune with current trends. I think the issue of children, adolescents, and just generally the youths and issues of mental health as a result of many factors, both social and economic, have taken center stage in Zambia and in Africa as a whole. And as Zambia, we are taking all the necessary steps to ensure that we are on top of this issue. Thank you.
The Honorable Member for Kalabo Central.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The issue of mental health is spread all over. How is the government, without the council being in place, how is it managing to mobilize resources so that the mental health services could reach the clients all over this country? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Health.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Without repeating myself, I think that question has been asked, except maybe in a little different way, because here specifically they are talking about how are we raising money for mental health without the council. The government does allocate resources for mental health, and I did say that in the budget we took note of the issue of underfunding to mental health issues, and we deliberately took a conscious decision and doubled the budget to assist. And we are also looking at infrastructure and many other issues even without that. And I've already stated that there was no money in the budget for the establishment, but now that money was put in this year's budget. We have already put in place a board, but the process is not complete. Complete because, as you may wish to note, formation of boards are not just to sit down and put names. there's a lot of processes that take place, and sometimes it's the processes that take long. So the processes have already been started. We hope maybe by next month or maybe the other month, we should be able to announce the new board. Thank you.
Honorable Member for Kabwata.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Minister, I will write on the question that has been posed by the Member of Parliament from Babala. If you look at the Act number 6 of 2019, look at it carefully. When it comes to the appointment of the executive director, it speaks of one having the qualification of a psychiatric doctor. And many of the psychiatric doctors that we have in Zambia, they're actually serving less than 10 years. Most of them are either 2 years, and we only have 5. Is it possible that this clause can be amended so that you can open it up and allow others who are special or specialists in mental health, who have either a master's or a PhD, so if they can be incorporated so that it is open to all?
The Honorable Minister of Health.
Thank you once again, Mr. Speaker, and thank you once again, Honorable Member of Parliament for Kabwata, for your follow-up question. I think that the question that you've asked is something that can only be considered once the Act becomes operational. Because if you look at the Act, the people that appoint the executive director is the board. The people that will put the management will be the board. And they'll run according to how they think best. And your point is valid, but that's what is the law now. What we need to do is let's test the law. And then once the law has been tested, there's a board in place, there's a management in place, and there's an executive director in place. We can then look at amendments after we have tested the law, because this law is new. It has not yet been tested. So let's test it, and then once we test it, we can see how best we can amend where there's need. One of the challenges I see now with many professions, when they come up with a piece of legislation or an act, they lock that sector and say, because now this is mental, only those who have done mental or those who have been in that situation should take up that position. And that's why you are finding that a number of statutory bodies are not doing well. When an institution is a pharmaceutical, then people think the only one who should be a chief executive should be the one who is a pharmacist. It doesn't go like that. And we need to get away from that, because those are managerial positions. The administrative positions. One can be a doctor, it doesn't mean he can be a good manager. One can be an engineer, it doesn't mean that he can't be a manager. So I think this is the tragedy of our times, that when we make laws, sometimes those that are making laws make laws for themselves alone, out of sometimes selfishness. Thank you.
The Honorable Member for East State.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. And the Minister, it's interesting to learn that the board will be established this year. It's a step in the right direction. Now, in the process of reviewing these laws, Minister, I'm of the belief that mental health is even right here in this house. We all go through mental health. How are you also intending to integrate this institution as part of the way to support this institution in the roles you are coming up with, so that we are also supported as members of Parliament? In Kenya, they've got a caucus on mental health. This issue is real. It's not something we can underestimate. Thank you so much, Minister.
The Honorable Minister of Health.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Honorable, for your follow-up questions. A very, very important suggestion that you have made, but also facts which you have pointed out, that the issue of mental health is really a matter of concern for this government, and it really should concern Parliament in particular. And it would be good that Parliament can also get on this matter and see how best we work together to support mental health. Because, Mr. Speaker, you are a member of parliament. I'm sure you know what is happening on the ground, especially among our young people. And there are many factors that are causing this issue. And indeed, even among ourselves here, we are going through stress. You know, life is no longer the same as it used to be. Life is moving fast. The social media era has also brought its own negative effects that affects brings about mental issues. And so then you have all these tujirijiris even being sold at graveyards. You know, this country, we are sitting on a time bomb. And it would be very good to have a special team of MPs that can take up this issue, like they've done on issues of corruption. They've also done on other issues as parliamentarians. It would really be very important and very good that Parliament comes up with a grouping that looks at this issue. Thank you.
The last question, the Honorable Member for Lukasha.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Minister, my question is on Section 8 of the statute itself, the Mental Health Act. The operation of the whole law on mental health is predicated on the existence of this Mental Health Council. I just want to find out if the government has got a specific date by which it is intended to constitute this council. Thank you, Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Health.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Honorable. Honorable, we don't give dates for such issues. I've already stated that the board has already been constituted, but that board that has been constituted has to go through processes. Do you know that when a minister is constituting a board, first you write to institutions that have been named in the act to come up with proposals? That itself is a process. When the names come, those names have to be sent for vetting. That vetting is also a process. When that is done, those names have to circulate, SECAP memo, it goes to cabinet. When cabinet approves, that's when it comes back, and then you have to announce. That's the process. So I have said the process is, the issue is under process, and I've said before the end of this year, we hope we can have the council in place. That's what I've said. Thank you.
Next question. The Honorable Member for Chinsali.
Question number 115.
The Honorable Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Honorable Member for Chinsali, Honorable Mukosa, is asking the following questions. A, whether the government has any plans to tar the Mbesuma-Kafwimbi Road in Chinsali district, and B, if so, when the plans will be implemented. Mr. Speaker, the government has plans to upgrade to bituminous standard the Mbesuma-Kafwimbi Road in Chinsali district. B, the plans for upgrading to bituminous standard of the 60 kilometers of the Mbesuma-Kafwimbi Road in Chinsali district will be implemented once Treasury sources the required funds for the project. Mr. Speaker, I thank you.
Supplementary questions. Honorable Member for Chinsali.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Honorable Minister, for the answer. I would like to find out from you, Honorable Minister, when you say the plans to upgrade the Mbesuma to Kafwimbi Road are going to be implemented when the Treasury puts its house in order, or when the Treasury provides for the resources, would you give any timeline? Do you think this can be next year, or do you think this can be in 2025, so that the people of Chinsari can start planning around what the government is doing or what the government is planning? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To give specific timelines when you are constrained by finances, sometimes is a bit difficult. We are also mindful that the answers we give on the floor of this House tie government in what is called the assurance. But suffice to say, that particular road is very, very important because even as we look at opening that part of the country, for example, I think our colleagues in Wapula know that we are working on the Mwenda Kasomeno Road. That road is supposed to provide routes for Congolese traffic coming from Dar es Salaam, Nakonde, all the way into Mwense and the crossing to Kasomeno. But in order for that to happen, we have to have connectivity between Mwenda, where the road is going, all the way to Nakonde. So the possible routes, one of the possible routes from Kasama is this one, Kasama to Mbesuma, and of course, Mbesuma to Kafwimbi. Okay. So government is very, very aware of the strategic nature of that. But I disappoint the honorable member in that I cannot give specific date because of the limit on the resources that we have. Just to remind the honorable member, in 2014, a procurement process to engage a contractor for the upgrading works on the road section was undertaken. However, the contract was not signed as parties could not agree on the terms of the contract. In order to keep the road motorable and safe for road users, the RDA in February 2023 assessed the road and came up with an estimate of 6.5 million kwacha to undertake some maintenance and spot improvement works on the road. Government released 2.3 million kwacha to RDA, which was utilized for the said interventions. In addition, 3.5 million was released in September 2023 for continued maintenance and spot improvements. Works are ongoing and are expected to be completed in February 2024. And the commitment of RDA is that it shall endeavor to ensure that the Besuma Kafwimbi Road in Chisari district is kept in a motorable and safe for road users as upgrading works are being awaited. In terms of upgrading to bituminous standard, it is imperative that it is done. That's the desire of government. The limiting factor is the availability of funds. As of now, honorable member, would not be correct to say we're going to do it in 2024, 2025, 2026. But because it's such a critical road, it will be done. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Chinsari.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Honorable Minister, for the answer that you have provided. Honorable Minister, I do like in your answer the fact that you have elaborated that the government do understand the importance of this road, and of course its importance can't be overemphasized. Then I also do agree with you, sometimes if you're constrained with resources, if you don't have the resources, it's difficult to do an upgrade to bituminous standard in the immediate. What I want to ask is that First, before I ask, I want to let you know that the money that you said was released by RDA, I think 2.8 and the 3.5 million, I would like to tell you that there is nothing that has happened on the road substantially. So the road is still bad, as we are going to start, as the rains are going to start in the next few days, and I think the rains have already started anyway. The road is going to be impassable, Honorable Minister. I would like to find out from you, as we are waiting for the government to upgrade this road to bituminous standard, Honorable Minister, is it possible we can grade it to a proper, we give it like a proper standard gravel, like the way we have done for Mwinilunga to Solwezi? Is it possible we can do that? Because people of Chinsali can appreciate if the road can even just be upgraded to, if it can be rehabilitated and given a proper gravel road for the time we are waiting to upgrade it to bituminous standard. Is it possible that that can be done, Honorable Minister? We can be very grateful. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Member for Chinsali, I think what I can say is let's continue to engage. The commitment here is that we'll keep it motorable. However, if it is possible to make it even more motorable than what is current, we should endeavor to see what can be done about that. So continue to engage with us. We will continue to engage with the regional office to see what can be done. However, Mr. Speaker, this speaks to the issue of misuse of resources that are allocated to projects. This particular section, Mr. Speaker, when we were dealing with the Besuma Bridge, the idea was we complete Besuma Bridge, and shortly afterwards it will be followed by the upgrading to bituminous standard of Kasama to Besuma and Besuma to Kafwimbi. This was not in the last administration. This was way back in 2007, 2008. And I remember standing on the banks, actually paddling a canoe across the Chambeshi River on that spot. Because at the time, 3/4 of the amount required to undertake the full bridge had been released by the government of the time. And yet, not even a pillar had been constructed. When we went, I was chairman of the Public Accounts Committee then. Only a small pile of sand collected by children was evident on the banks. So, the point I'm making, Mr. Speaker, is if we had done that and followed up with the road, we will not be talking about that particular road right now. So, as we go forward, I think when resources are allocated, all concerned must endeavor to ensure that all the resources are used for the intended purpose, so that we finish what needs to be done in our country, because the country is big, there is need to go to other areas and so on and so forth. But the answer to his specific question is let us continue to engage. What he has suggested might well be possible. But as we discuss, we'll decide what to do. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Kaumbwe.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. The said road, Honorable Minister, is it a suitable candidate for PPP consideration? I thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development.
Mr. Speaker, sometimes I get into trouble by using the term commercial viability for PPP purposes. And some people choose to misunderstand that. If you look at what makes the road attractive for investors, usually it is the volume, because they know that they will recoup their investment through toll bridges and so on, because the volume is there, or the potential to build up the volume. I have no doubt in my mind that in the future, the volumes on this particular road will increase, especially when we do that corridor that I described earlier. But as of now, commercially, it will be difficult to attract. In any case, if there is anybody who knows any organization or any company that is willing to undertake a PPP on any road, please bring them along. We shall help them. Sometimes we make that assessment of lack of commercial viability, but we may be wrong. But this particular one, in our view at the moment, will require our own money as government through an EPC contract to do that particular road. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. The clerk will read the order of the day.
Supply motion of 29 September 2023, resumption of debate.
When the House was adjourned on Tuesday, 17th October 2023, the House was considering the motion moved by the Honorable Minister of Finance and National Planning that the House do now resolve into Committee of Supply on the estimate of revenue and expenditure for the year 1st January 2024 to 31st December 2024, together with the annual borrowing plan presented to the National Assembly in September 2023. Any further debate? The Honorable Member for Kawambwa.
Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to talk to this document, to talk to the budget presented by the Honorable Minister of Finance. Sir, I've gone through this document, and I've not only gone through this document, I also have the verbatim of what the minister was trying to communicate to us and to the country at large as he was talking to this particular document in my hands today. I want to, unfortunately, due to lack of time, I will not dissect it the way I would have loved to dissect this, because there are so many gaps in the Honorable Minister's own statement. I will begin by paragraph 3. The Honorable Minister states, Madam Speaker, this is the third budget that the new Dawn administration is presenting to this House since coming into office just 2 years ago. Our administration, and I've underlined that part, our administration has achieved excellent progress in changing the social and economic landscape of our country. That's a big statement. Which country is he talking about? Which country is the Honorable Minister talking about? What landscape? The social and economic landscape of our country has changed. Was he talking about Zambia, or there's another country he was actually talking about? Really? If you go on the streets of Zambia today, are the ordinary Zambians going to agree with this statement? Colleagues, as we debate here and as we present issues here, Zambians are watching and they're listening. Have we improved the well-being of Zambians from 2 years ago to today? And don't be too excited by answering yes. Zambians are watching and they're waiting. I'll go further. Those who are saying yes, I'll go further and I'll refer to this document. Sir, I'll go to paragraph 4, number 4. And if you go run all the way, the third line, fourth line from where it says, once this process is concluded, the Copper Belt province, and indeed the country at large, will soon come back to life.
This is a process about KCM and Mopani. Under 4, the Honorable Minister is saying only when this process of KCM and Mopani are done, are concluded, will the Copper Belt province, and indeed the country at large, come back to life. What does it mean? A real contradiction on the same page by the Honorable Minister, implying that Zambia has not come back to life, implying that there is a process that must be concluded for Zambia to come back to life. How can the Honorable Minister make such a contradictory statement on the same page? On one party saying things are okay, we are home and dry, and we are celebrating, and it's Christmas as usual. But going back into the next page, Honorable Minister, going back, you actually cancel what you said. It comes to new. It means that certain things must be done. Certain things must be done. I understand, the Honorable Speaker, that some people do not look to details. They actually take these things very lightly. And when we stand here to talk to these issues, these things are too big for them. So they do not want to debate intellectually. Honorable Speaker, we are in government to improve the well-being of the people so that their living standards can move from this level to the next level. That's why we are in government. And that's why we fight to say we want to come into government so that the livelihoods of our people are improved, they get better. And not these microeconomic things, no inflation and the rest of it, that doesn't work. But even that inflation and the exchange rate, for our colleagues, that it doesn't work. I'll quickly go to the last page, to page 32. Page 32 has got strange things, Mr. Speaker. Has got strange things. There's a diagram, and in that diagram, there is a new inclusion which says O/W. According to what I know about OW is outstanding, meaning that there are a number of issues on this particular page, Mr. Speaker, which means these things are outstanding from 2023 to 2024. According to my calculations, which I did here, these things amount to 82,930,876,127 kwacha. Meaning, Mr. Speaker, that this money which has been put here, OW outstanding, there are things we failed to finance this year, and we are taking them to the next level so that they can be financed in next year's budget. Mr. Speaker, is this a new budget?
There's a point of order.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for allowing me to stand on the point of order. Mr. Speaker, I don't normally stand on point of order, but I've been compelled by the honorable member who is on the floor.
Who has just come back.
I think I stand on standing order number 65. Factual. That which we debate or mention or say on the floor of this house must be factual.
Yeah.
OW stands for of which.
Yes.
That's what it stands for. So when you look at, there's a main heading, and then it says of which. So that of which is that which comprises the head that is mentioned there. So if you add those of which, they will give you the total amount of that particular item on top. Not what the officer, the honorable member of parliament is stating. So is he therefore in order to mislead himself and mislead the nation? I seek your serious ruling, Mr. Speaker.
Order. I think, honorable members, let's ensure that when we are debating, we are factual and we understand what we are debating to avoid misleading ourselves and also misleading the public. So the honorable member for Kawambwa was out of order. May the honorable member continue.
Mr. Speaker, I thank you and I thank my honorable brother for presenting his own understanding of what is written here. I like to believe the honorable minister will come and clarify at the right time. But from where I stand and from where I sit, I like to believe that I'm being very, very factual and I'm not getting these figures from nowhere. I'm getting these figures from right here from this particular document. So for me, I like to believe that the Honorable Minister of Finance, if you go to page 2, he says that he's talking about increasing the GDP from what they actually anticipate to be 2.7 to go to 4.8 or 7 thereabout next year. But there are no fundamentals that are talking to those particular issues. The minister was lamenting about KCM and copper mining and so on and so forth, but there's nothing in this budget that is going to take us to where he wants us to be. These things do not work by magic, Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister, when you give us a statement and what must happen, you must also tell us how we shall get there. Honorable Minister, it's your responsibility. The people of Zambia there are suffering. Poverty levels are going up, and the cost of living is going up. We have a responsibility as a House and you as the executive to ensure that you start addressing those particular issues. Otherwise, by next year, things will be too hard for you as UPND, and people will be up in arms, and they'll show you the exit door, and they will say that tulefaya PF abwererepo. Pantu imwe kuya bebele.
Order, honorable member. Her Honor, the Vice President, adjournment.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that the House do now adjourn.
The question is that the House do now adjourn. Any debate? Any objection? The question is agreed to. The House is now adjourned.
Thank you for still watching Parliament Television. The House has just adjourned. And we now take a look at business that has been considered on the floor of the House from the time business resumed at 14:30 hours. When business resumed, Honorable Madam First Deputy Speaker informed the House that in accordance with provisions standing orders number 165, 5 and 191-1, she has made the following change to the composition of the Committee on Parliamentary Reforms and Modernization Committee. Ms. Chushisi Kasanda, MP, has been appointed to replace Honorable Princess Kasune, MP. Thereafter, Honorable Madam First Deputy Speaker did make another announcement in which she acquainted the House with the presence in the Speaker's Gallery of honorable members of the Standing Committee of Home Affairs, Security, Constitutional and Legal Affairs and staff from the National Council of Namibia. Honorable Madam First Deputy Speaker, on behalf of the National Assembly of Zambia, warmly welcomed the distinguished guests to the National Assembly. The third announcement that the Honorable Madam First Deputy Speaker made was where she informed the House that in accordance with Standing Order 157-6 of the National Assembly of Zambia Standing Orders 2021, debate on the motion of supply, which was moved by the Honorable Minister of Finance and National Planning on 29 September 2023, will be concluded on Tuesday, 31st October 2023. The last 4 sitting days of the debate on the motion will be given to the front bench to respond to various issues raised by the back bench during the debate. Honorable Madam First Deputy Speaker in this regard stated that starting from Wednesday 25th to Tuesday 31st October 2023, priority in debating the motion of supply will be given to the front bench. She further implored all members of the back bench intending to debate the motion to do so between now and tomorrow, Friday, 20th October 2023. After the three announcements by Honorable Madam First Deputy Speaker, Honorable Madam First Deputy Speaker permitted the Minister of Energy to render a ministerial statement, and the Minister of Energy, Engineer Pitwe Chiwe Kapala, did render a ministerial statement on the transportation of petroleum products in Zambia, and this was in response to a matter of urgent public importance raised by Honorable Mutaya Chalo, Chairman North Member of Parliament. The minister did state that in May 2021, government issued a statutory instrument number 35 of 2021, an instrument which recommends that a person intending to transport a commodity shall give preference to a local transportation. However, the minister noted that the ministry has noted complaints from Zambia union tanker drivers and allied workers regarding non-compliance, and therefore the ministry will work closely with the Ministry of Small and Medium Enterprise. The minister further stated that the ministry will request the regulator, that's the Energy Regulation Board, to coordinate with government agencies to clarify the concerns raised by the stakeholders. So those are just some of the details that came from the ministerial statement that was rendered by the Minister of Energy. The Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation also issued a ministerial statement, and this is on the ongoing situation in Israel. And this ministerial statement was in response on a matter that was raised by Pambashe Member of Parliament, Mr. Ronald Chitotela, that's on the conflict on the Gaza Strip. The minister did state in his ministerial statement that on 7th October 2023, Hamas launched a surprise attack on Israel, and so far over 1,400 deaths have been recorded in Israel and 3,000 in Gaza Strip. Deaths have been